WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. An extreme cold watch will go into effect here early Friday morning. A few spotty snow showers at times here for this afternoon, mainly late with cloudy skies, a high in the lower 30s. Winds out of the southwest around 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 25. Tonight, a chance for some snow, areas of blowing snow likely with cloudy skies, a low near 13. Thursday, a slight chance for snow, late, a high of 25. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 28.
This is WCPT 820. Listen in Chicago on 820 AM or stream us live on WCPT820.com, the TuneIn radio app, or tell Alexa or Google to play WCPT. Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
All right, this is exciting, isn't it?
Here we go, guys, in 5, 4, 3. Here we go.
It's time for Joan Esposito. Live, local, and progressive.
Thank you for the good programming. I appreciate the content and really enjoyed every moment.
It's a privilege to have you on your station and listen. It's good stuff. It's very educational.
It's time for Joan Esposito on WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk.
Hey, well, this is Joan's Body Double. This is Richard Chu from Chu's Views here on WCPT, and obviously I'm sitting in for the great Joan Esposito today because Joan is doing what she's doing. I'm willing to bet that she's probably not doing something outside in this cold. I mean, it's so funny, Lady B. It was 7 degrees day before yesterday, and over the course of the weekend, we saw that with the Bears game and all the rest. And today, it got up to 31 degrees, still below freezing. So it's cold out. It's below freezing. But when you think about it here in Chicago, that difference in temperature, that 24-degree difference in temperature is like we just had a heat wave blow through. Exactly. And for those of us who've been in Chicago or, any part of the upper Midwest, even the Northeast, know what that's all about. It's like, your temperature goes up 24 degrees from 7 to 31, and it is like it's a heat wave. But I doubt that Joan's outside today doing some creative outdoor thing because it's still cold. And so, as I said to everybody, and if you're commuting home now, make sure you be safe. I say this in the morning on my show, by the way, but I say it whenever I can. Please, y'all, be safe. It's cold out. We still have some slick areas and all the rest, and give yourself some extra time. But I'm Richard Chu, and I'm sitting in for Joan Esposito this afternoon. We've got a busy afternoon show. I'm going to give you a quick rundown of who we are going to be chatting with. Rachel Bitecofer, political strategist. You guys have heard her, seen her on my show, and she's been on WCPT before. The mayor of Aurora, Illinois, John Laesch, will be with us discussing some of the issues that are going on in his community. And then and that's at the 3 o'clock hour, 3:30, Aaron Kleinman, who's one of our really, really wonderful writers and contributors here at WCPT and the Heartland Signal platform, digital platform. Hal Sparks, Mega Worldwide, host on Saturdays. Hal and I love to hang out. He's going to be with us at 4, which will be a lot of fun. And we'll do our best not to talk over each other. Hal and I get so excited when we talk with each other. It's like when I talk with John Fugelsang. We get so excited talking with each other that we kind of talk over each other. But that's not out of any form of disrespect. And then Bobby Kogan will be with us in the 4:30 hour to bring us some updates on policy, federal budget policy. So looking forward to having all the folks with us this afternoon. And Lady B is driving the bus, and I'm just sitting in the back seat making a bunch of noise, and she keeps turning around. Richard, would you quiet down, please? I'm trying to focus and concentrate. We got lots of crazy things going on, and we don't need you in the back of the bus yelling and screaming. But thanks, Lady B, for being here this afternoon to make sure we're running along well. Tonight on Driving It Home, Patty Vasquez will be joined by Owen Sullivan, freelance journalist based in Copenhagen, or some people say Copenhagen. but based there. And Missouri Democratic House Minority Leader Ashley Awney will be also with Patty. In the second hour of the show, Patty will be join the Up North broadcast with the Monaco Brewing folks and contributors Kirk Bangstead, Ben Kamenos, Amy Thomas, and more. They will talk to Wisconsin State Senator Chris Larson, Democrat of Milwaukee, and Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez will be on this afternoon from 5 to 7 here on WCPT AM 820, Heartland Signal website, tune in, YouTube, and Facebook. Then tomorrow morning, I'll be back on Choose Views, and my guest will be Benjamin Goldhagen, who is a Russian disinformation expert and director of the documentary The Steel Porcupine, talking about Ukraine. So I'm definitely looking forward to having him on the show again tomorrow. Dr. Anthony Douglas, who is a trauma surgeon here at the University of Chicago Hospital, to talk about the responsibility in Firearm Legislation Act, also known as rifle. Nathan Taylor from the Election Truth Alliance will be with us. And then tomorrow at this time, Joan will be back with her guest, USA Today columnist Rex Hupke, Rich Logis, founder and executive director of Leaving MAGA, and Heartland Signal's Rich Eberwine with 3 stories you may have missed. Also, as you guys know, we have a WCPT Senate debate, candidate forum, I should say, with Rajna Krishnamurthy, Governor Juliana Stratton, and Congresswoman Robin Kelly. That's happening Friday, February 6th at 1 o'clock. And we'll be moderating. I'll be moderating the forum along with Joan Esposito and Patty Vasquez, as you know. So if you want to attend this free event, visit heartlandsignal.com/forum and register today. Seating is limited, so don't miss that. And of course, check out our candidate interviews at the heartlandsignal.com/candidate site, and catch all of our podcasts there. That's the place to be. You know, I say this in the mornings. Go to heartlandsignal.com. Our digital platform is filled chock full of information and people who that are part of our platform that write great articles and post great material. And you want to be able to have that readily available and, share it with people. That's one of the most powerful things you can do. I talk about that every day on my show in the morning, is sharing the information that we have at heartlandsignal.com is a powerful tool that you have in your back pocket. So please use it and make your way over to our digital platform. So, yeah, guys, we have a busy day today, and but I want to talk about a couple hot items that I thought would be good to cover, and we will definitely be able to bring you some updates as we move forward. And one of the clips that we're going to probably play for you in a little bit. This meeting in Davos, don't want to oversimplify it, but it has definitely been an exposure of the ways in which many people, many leaders throughout the country, just are, for lack of better words, not stepping up to the moment. It seems, and some are not all the leaders there that we have clips from and that have been speaking are turning their backs on democracy, but many of them have. It seems as though decided that it's much more favorable for them to, kiss the tail end of Donald Trump than it is to speak strongly and in a united front against what he's doing to not just kill democracy in the United States, but frankly throughout the world. And so we have a clip. I think Lady B's got this ready for us. California Governor Gavin Newsom. We're going to play, the full amount of this clip, which is just under 2 minutes. And I want you guys to hear what he has to say, and then we'll talk about it on the back end.
The Europeans should decide for themselves what to do. But one thing they can't do is what they've been doing, and they've been playing. This guy's playing folks for fools. And it's embarrassing.
Europeans think this is diplomacy, and this will ultimately
this is
work.
Diplomacy with Donald Trump? He's a T-Rex. You mate with him or he devours you. One or the other.
And Europe's being
people need to stand. No, the Europeans could be if they continue to come down this path in the process. They need to stand tall, stand firm, stand united. Look, this a year ago we should have been having this conversation, and they didn't. Okay, and now you're paying the price. Exactly what anyone objective observer would have anticipated we'd be where we are today.
What do you think Ursula von der Leyen's to say would lead to the end of the European Union?
I don't want to be hyperbolic about it, but this guy's a wrecking ball. I hope people are waking up to what we're dealing with. This is code red. I mean, you guys are still playing by all set of rules. Everybody, the globe is with this guy. He's unmoored. It's the law of the jungle. It's the rule of dawn. And I hope it's dawning on the world what we're up against. I mean, this is serious. This guy he's not mad. He's very intentional, but he's unmoored and he's unhinged, and it requires you. The goal is whatever he wants it to be. The goal is the world in his image. He's a narcissist. I mean, it's no advice, common sense. Why don't folks do what they say publicly, what they're saying in private? Why don't they just simply do what they know is right? I mean, everybody's talking behind his back. They're laughing at him. Meanwhile, they're sucking up to him. It's embarrassing. I mean, you're modeling behavior for our kids, generations of folks. This is not diplomacy. This is stupidity.
Yeah, listen, what it takes right now is a united front, not just in the United States of America. It takes a united front from all democratic leaders throughout the world. Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin they're taking a wrecking ball to democracy, to safety, to sanity across the globe. This is all, listen, this has been Russia/Putin's goal for decades. Many of us are familiar with the phrase, and I'll give you the edited version of it, the statement rather that was made by Nikita Khrushchev about we are not going to take down America with bombs and missiles and bullets. We're going to take them down from the inside. And that is not just something that's a sentiment that he has toward the United States, but to the rest of the world. Putting in tin pot dictators in different countries with all this money that he's accumulated from through his affiliation with Russian oligarchs, made them richer, and at the same time become, by many people's measure, the wealthiest person in the world, even more than Musk, because a lot of the wealth that Putin supposedly has isn't disclosed. So their goal is to continue to tear down democracies throughout the world. So it's not just the United States. And obviously that's our big prize and our big concern. And rather than but, we have to be aware of that in other parts of the world. And that's why, I'm with Governor Newsom and his sentiment about other leaders have got to step up and have got to stand strong and have got to make it clear that right now is not the time to acquiesce, not the time to capitulate, not the time to bend the knee at all. And, I say this often on my show in the mornings. It is not the time for Democrats to be going after each other. That's just, it's a stupid play. We have to unite. And I think that's also the sentiment that the governor is sharing with some of the European leaders. It's not the time to be going after each other. It's time to unite. Because Putin and Trump have one goal in mind, and that's to tear down democracies across the globe. Lady B, let's take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. I'm Richard Chu, sitting in for the great Joan Esposito, and we will be right back.
Out Chicago.
If you think of every single thing from the Supreme Court to deporting these poor immigrants who are just trying to work hard and feed their families and have a better life, to the trans community that was thrown under the bus, you just wonder, where will the hate, where will the fear end? And if you keep thinking about it, like I just mentioned, it's a nowhere street mentally.
Catch Out Chicago every Sunday, 11 to 1 on WCPT 820.
Horowitz and Associates. Where did Cliff Horowitz learn to argue? At the dinner table with his dad. And his father was a great arguer, a great trial lawyer. And as Cliff got older, he began to win some of those arguments. Cliff became a trial lawyer and won some of the largest personal injury verdicts in Illinois history. From the dinner table to the courtroom, Cliff Horowitz and his firm at Horowitz Law continue winning important arguments for hardworking families. If you're hurt on the job, call 312-800-8000 or go to horowitzlaw.com.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Now back to Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive on WCPT 820.
Hey, guys, welcome back to the show. I'm Richard Chu, sitting in for Joan Esposito this afternoon, 2 to 5. And make sure you stay tuned for Patty Vasquez, who'll be here with us at 5 p.m. I think Lady B is going to let us get a few calls in a second. Just sit tight. We'll grab your calls. But, yeah, listen, guys, what Governor Newsom is saying is everybody's got to stand up. Everybody's got to fight. We don't have the luxury to sit back and just sort of, kick back and let somebody else do the work. That is just not an option right now on a U.S. level or on a global level. Lady B, let's see if we can take a call from Jim here in Chicago. Hey, Jim, good afternoon, and welcome to the show.
How are you?
Great.
I was just thinking, the Democrats used to be accused of utopian thinking, Medicare for all, bigger social safety net. And now the Republicans have taken the mantle, and he explained it to the Europeans yesterday very vividly. He just continued that tirade he had the day before, saying, what you got to do is treat the immigrants the way we're treating them. And then after that, you've got to put all your assets into the military complex, because the Armageddon is right around the corner. And America's turning into the utopia that we always thought it was going to be. It's so good now that when you go out, you get lemonade coming out of the drinking fountains, and you've got, strawberry shortcake anywhere you want to get it. I mean, incredible. Absolutely incredible. And not only that, but this is right from Steve Bannon and Steve Miller. That was his protege, Steve Miller. Steve Bannon's protege. And he went on for about a good 10 years. I saw him in Italy screaming about immigrants. Immigrants. And he was actually in front of the Vatican. And I don't know if he pretends to be a Catholic or J.D. Vance pretends to be a Catholic, but the Catholic Church is all for immigrants. They don't believe in throwing immigrants into prisons and depriving them of food and medicine, et cetera, because in our religion, the way I was taught, we're all human beings, and we all need food, shelter, and clothing, and justice around the clock. But how about this guy? For 2 days, the same rap he had yesterday, he brings it to the Europeans the next day.
Yep.
And doesn't stop. Like he's on a Ritalin, like he's with Musk, snorting Ritalin. But at least but I don't think his heart can take Ritalin anymore, because he looks like he's ready to collapse at any minute. But are they kidding with this? I mean, they went utopian on us. We used to be the ones, we're trying to make the world better. Well, they think they've got the formula for it, and that's degrading every immigrant on the planet. And we know how racist this outfit is. I mean, it's just insane.
Yeah, Jim.
Anyway,
appreciate your call, Jim. Here's the thing, guys, with this craziness that they're bringing to us. They want to have a extraordinarily hierarchical system where there's a few people in charge. It's not rocket science to understand where they are. They want a few people in charge, and they want the people to look like a certain person or a certain way. And they, I'll put it to the GOP, the MAGA that's out there. And even some of the people who don't want to believe it, going back to Jim's point about, sort of Democrats that still just don't get that this is the fight that we have and we got to be ready. They want, who is they? Trump, Putin, the GOP in many cases, the ones that are propping him up. They're okay with this dictatorial, authoritarian way of life. Because if they weren't okay with it, they would fight against it. There's the other part of that, or the other side of that sword, are the people that are just too feckless to do a doggone thing about it. And so we got both of those mindsets in the GOP right now. And, I've heard people running around talking about, we need to support Russia, not Ukraine. Tomorrow, I'll be talking on my show. I'll be talking with Benjamin Goldhagen about that very topic. But listen, the things that we've endured in this country, and I can speak to this from a descendant of enslaved folks, there's no way in hell I want us to look like Russia. But Russia wants the United States to look like Russia. And many of the leaders in this country, let me say leaders, many of the moneyed up folks on the right are okay with a Russia-esque type of United States of America. They won't say it in public, and some of them might slip and say it, but that's what they want, because they want to have limitation of power and access to resources. It's that simple. So the fight is on, and I appreciate Governor Newsom for what he said to the Europeans, and we have to take that same message here at home. I'm glad he said it on a world stage. Lady B, let's grab a quick call from Ed in Palos Park. Good afternoon, Ed, and welcome to Joan Esposito, Live, Local, and Progressive.
Yeah, hi, Richard. Hearing those comments, what he said to the European nations, and, it's bad enough that he's destroying our United States. Now he wants help to destroy the world, the way I see it. And this has gone too far. I mean, there's too many feckless people, these legislators. Immediately, they should try to bring forth the 25th Amendment, which can remove a president when he shows signs of mental disturbance. Problem is, I think it has to be ruled on by the vice president.
He's got the vice president has a responsibility, is probably the right word, constitutional responsibility in this space. He's not going to bring it on. And the Republicans in the House and the Senate, unfortunately, Ed, you're right. It's what should happen, but it's not what I believe is going to happen, because there's too many hurdles for these feckless. I love that word. I love it. Folks on the right they're just too feckless, and they're not going to. And also let's also be honest too, Ed. And I'll be the first one to say this. They're complicit. They're complicit one way or the other. They're complicit by either they're going along with it and like, okay, I'm all right with this destruction. I'm all right with this way in which Trump is acting, and I'm okay with not pushing for the 25th Amendment to be enacted. Or they're feckless and complicit because of the fact that they just won't do it. They're afraid. So you have the ones who are advocating, Ed, and then you have the ones that are afraid to do something because they're going to get primaried or they're going to get threatened. Well, don't they get it, Ed, that they're being threatened right now?
Exactly.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I just can't imagine anybody being so devoid of intestinal fortitude that they would stoop so low to see their country go down the drain. And that really hurts.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a struggle. I can see that.
It already is. It already is, Ed. Listen, my man, we got to bounce because we got to grab a few more calls before we get our guest on. But thank you for your contribution to Joan's show and all the rest of our shows, Ed. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye now. Who we got, Lady B? All right. Let's grab Dave real quickly from Hoffman Estates. Good afternoon, Dave. Well, how are you, man? How you been doing?
Well, yourself, I hope.
I've been doing great, thanks.
Two quick questions. Did you ever get the emails I sent you?
Oh, man, I got to go back and look. I'm sure they came through. I may not have seen them because I get a lot, to be honest, and to be humbly honest. Resend them to me. I promise you, if you resend them to me, I'll take the time now that it's top of mind to look at them. What's your second question?
And, because it was about in the American Cemetery in Margaret.
Okay, send it to me again, and I'll dig into it.
It might infuriate you when you read that, but because it honored the black soldiers in World War II over there. And anyway, the second question and last one on the forum, like I mentioned to Joan, are you guys going to put a time limit on each one of these politicians to answer back?
Well, when you say time limit, I'm gonna that's a broad phrase. Yeah, we're gonna have some. We're gonna have some. And I don't mean that. I'm not judging your question. I'm just saying. I guess I'll give you the simple answer. Yes, we will have a controlled sort of response time. Yeah, I know what you're asking for. Now let me just answer it. We will have some controls on the time frame. Yes.
Because otherwise, if they milk it out too long, that's the one or two questions that they will never get asked.
Yeah, no, I get it. I know what you mean by that, and that's why we'll try. We are going to have some sometimes constraints, I guess, may be the word. So simple answer is yes. Let me try to grab another call.
Take care off, so you get somebody else, okay?
Thanks, Dave, for calling, and send me that email, okay? All right. Let's try to grab Steve real quickly. I know we're at the bottom of the hour. Hey, Steve, welcome to the show. I want to try to squeeze you in because we got our guests lining up right after this. So welcome. How are you? How you been?
Oh, fine, thank you. On my way to a meeting, so caught your show. Thought I'd give a call. I think you're absolutely right. I mean, you need to motivate Republicans in a manner that comports with their own self-interest. This notion of do it for America because it's the right thing to do is not something that's going to go over well with Republicans in this age of MAGA. There used to be Republicans who lived by that mantra. People like John McCain and others who, actually valued what was America above party. But that kind of Republican, is gone by and large. So what we need to do is get the current Republican establishment to understand that yourself to this part that is MAGA and Donald Trump is a losing proposition in the long run, that your party is going to need to remake itself post-2026, post-2028, and you can either be part of that or you can be out there looking for a job in some other sector. But so we need to appeal to them again, not because, hey, do what the right thing is. I mean, God knows politicians don't care about the right thing all too often, but they do care about what's in their self-interest. So, like I said, let's appeal to that.
Yeah, good point, Steve. Thanks for the call. Travel safely and good luck at your meeting. All right. We want Republicans to do. They know what they need to do. I don't want us to waste any political time or capital appealing to Republicans who've already shown us, Lady B, what they're going to do. We need to make sure we get that 89 million folks who didn't vote, and presumably many of them may be on the left or center, in the game in terms of voting power. The Republicans aren't going to do anything until they are bent over so far that they can't stand up. So let's let them fall. We don't need. This is the thing. It's kind of like what Representative Crockett said. We don't need them to win. We need to get other people in the fight that sat out. And if ironically some of them happen to be Republicans that sat out, okay, but we don't need to spend one bit of capital going after Republicans. We need to let them do what they're going to do, and if that's to fail, then they fail, and then we just take over and do what we're supposed to do. Let's take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Joan Esposito's Live, Local, and Progressive. I'm Richard Chu, sitting in for Joan today. We'll be right back.
If you're purchasing a new home or refinancing your existing home, you need to call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender. Corey called to consolidate his debt and was so happy with my advice, he left me this 5-star Google review. Quote, I was looking to pay off debt, so I reached out to David after listening to his radio show. David called me personally and walked me through my options. He shot it straight. There was no beating around the bush or pushing me to sign anything. If any of my family or friends need anything related to a mortgage, I'll give them David's number because you can't get better or more honest service. Thanks, Corey. I strongly encourage everyone to check out our close to 600 5-star Google reviews from listeners like Corey. Team Hochberg helped Corey and thousands of radio listeners, but we can't help if you don't call 855-563-2843 or visit 56david.com. That's 855-563-2843 or visit 56david.com. Lower.com, equal housing lender, MLS 1124061.
Stephanie Miller here. Let's talk digestion. Eat this. Don't eat that. Actually, forget that. Eat this instead. No wonder so many people feel bad after trying to eat healthy. Something we do 3 times a day can turn into a crapshoot, and we do not want to go there. Here's what I learned from the Tummy Whisperer. Even healthy eating can backfire. That's why I trust Renee Barish at Digestive Health Solutions. As a certified digestive health specialist, Renee helps people go beyond Dr. Google and figure out what's really going on. If you've cleaned your diet up with no change, or you feel worse with bloating, reflux, constipation, diarrhea, or low energy, Renee will help you make sense of it all. And without having to live on steamed vegetables and regret. With Renee's guidance, digestion can calm down, food can stop being a gamble, and your body can finally feel healthy. Visit TheTummyWhisperer.com or just call Renee at 847-207-2034. That's 847-207-2034. Let's get you feeling better.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. An extreme cold watch will go into effect here early Friday morning. A few spotty snow showers at times here for this afternoon, mainly late with cloudy skies, a high in the lower 30s. Winds out of the southwest around 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 25. Tonight, a chance for some snow, areas of blowing snow likely with cloudy skies, a low near 13. Thursday, a slight chance for snow late, a high of 25. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 28.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter.
Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive on WCPT 820.
Hey, guys, welcome back to the show. The number is 773-763-9278. I'm Richard Chu, sitting in for Joan Esposito, and we have a fully stocked show today. It's like the beer garden is fully stocked, so our show is fully stocked today. Thanks for hanging with us. Make sure you give us a call. We'll try to squeeze you in. We'll do our best to make that happen. She has been known for her unfiltered, here it is, how I see it, folks. And you either like it or you don't like it, or you deal with it or you don't deal with it. Political strategist, author of Hit 'em Where It Hurts. And that is none other than our good friend, Rachel Bitecofer. Good afternoon. Almost said good morning. Good afternoon, Rachel, and welcome to Live, Local, and Progressive with Joan Esposito's body double, Richard Chu. How you been? What's going on?
No, I'm doing. You will not believe this, but
What?
I'm hiding in my truck to do this interview because I had my heating element go out last night. And of course, what was the time he could come? The same time I'm going to hang out with Richard Chu, right? So
wow.
I'm outside, and I am not kidding. I have 3 bald eagles flying above me right now. How Americana is that, dude?
Take videos if you can. I know you're using your phone to talk to me.
Yeah.
Wow.
They aren't cooperating very well and staying in the same frame, but I'm going to work on that and see if I can get that up on Twitter. 3 of them.
Wow, that's crazy. Well, that's what happens when you're on the northwest side of the country.
Yes, that is one advantage of living in the Pacific Northwest. The biggest advantage, of course, being no humidity, folks. No humidity on the West Coast.
Well, that plays well when it comes to not getting snow like we get here in Chicago. And I was joking at the beginning of the show, Rachel, about how 2 days ago and then over the bulk of the weekend it was at 0 or just above 0. It was 7 degrees on Monday and most of yesterday, and then overnight it's 31 degrees today, 21 degree temperature difference, and it's like we went going through a heat wave. So. But
how about the Bears?
Oh, I know.
I'm you're back in the playoffs, and with my Bo Nix out at Denver, I'm pretty much free agent, so I wouldn't mind seeing the Bears win.
I heard someone say a couple of weeks ago that when the Bears are playing well, football is better for everybody because there's something about the Chicago Bears. Wherever you are in the country, it's like people talk about the Chicago Bears. It's really an interesting phenomenon. But Rachel, thanks for hanging out with us for a little bit today. I know you're busy, and given what you're having to navigate there, I don't want to keep you too long. But we know we're in a crazy world right now. We have been for a while, and we're all fighting through and finding ways to be more active and productive. And so I'm going to ask you a question that I think a lot of people will appreciate hearing your answer or answers to when it comes to this. Right now, folks are feeling a lot of different things. I don't want to overly diagnose what people are feeling, but we can use a lot of words to describe that. I would like to know, so that our listeners all over the country can get this from someone like you who is a political strategist. What do you think? What do you want to see people, regular, everyday voters, not the politicians? We can get into that conversation another time. But what do you want to see everyday folk who are being impacted by these executive orders, by this potentially dementia-ridden president, by this corruption, all these things that we're all dealing with in one way or another? If you were sitting down and you were having a conversation with 10 people about what they can do in your opinion, observation, experience, whatever, what would those things be if you were to say, listen, y'all, here's what you can do right now to impact change on what's coming from this White House?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. And of course, like, you know, I'm going to give you the explanation, but I want to give you the slogan first, which is spread the pit. Okay. Now, what do I mean? You have a pit in your stomach. I have a pit in my stomach. I wake up to it. I go to bed to it. And I think a lot of people listening to our voices have the pit, right? But what my work is designed, partially to do is to get people who are like us to appreciate that many people are not like us. They don't have a pit because they don't follow the news. And I know that seems unbelievable, but I have focus group people that I use, and I called one of them up and, hey, have you seen anything in the news about Greenland? No, nothing about Greenland. Why? What's up? This is like days into the crisis, right? Like we talk about what individuals can do, and the most important thing an individual can do right now is spread the pit, right? And how do you do that? Well, you got to get the people in your life that don't like politics and especially don't like Trump, and they're just kind of tuned out. You got to make them look, right? We've got to find a way to get them to eat their vegetables, because unless we can wake up the giant moderate center of the country, then we are on this train. We can't get off of it, and I don't think anyone likes where the train's being driven right now. So, this idea that just because I know it can be hard to talk to people who are not interested in politics, but I just strongly urge, like within your own networks, whether it's 5 people or 100 people or 100,000 people on social media, you're an influencer, right? And right now what you need to do is influence people to pay attention to what's happening and to do something now. And what can they do now? Well, I do a lot of writing about how serious of the situation we're in based on my research on the Third Reich, right? But at the end of the day, we have to fight. We have to fight, right? And we can't let the possibility that Trump's going to do this or that, or the Insurrection Act or whatever, or he's not going to certify the elections. We can't let that stuff get in the way of doing the work. The work has to get done. And, we're in a situation where we should be clearly running on checking Trump with control of the House and the Senate. And, that to me is the most important work people can be doing, is focused on this midterm cycle, registering voters, getting voters to turn out, and bringing them up to speed at the stakes of this election cycle, because many people, believe it or not, even right now, are really not paying attention to anything, and therefore they're not worried about something they don't know about.
I think that goes, it links up with what I was saying, and I've been saying this for months now, that to try to flip. I mean, we have to kind of walk and chew gum. We know that there are people out there that are, quote unquote, on the right and are going to be the fight in terms of message and conversation and all that. But there's a larger number of people, that 89 million, that did not participate. And for whatever reason, we can debate the reasons all day long. The fact is they didn't participate. I think that's where we've got to put our energy, and they may be the people that aren't feeling it in the pit, so they don't know that they should be looking to share or spread the pit. I love that, and so I'm with you on that in great measure, because so many people are not involved in the process for whatever reason, and that's crazy to hear people say to you that they didn't know about Greenland. I mean, wow. Oh yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And that person, Richard, so important for people to understand. He is the normal one. Okay? He's the normal American. We're the weirdos because we're following Davos and Trump's speech, right? My point is, he's the more typical, quintessential American. Yes, he's not reading news. His algorithm is sports and stuff like that. So, if something gets through, it's very rare that something will get through. It's going to usually be something like a giant tornado, weather event. Back in the days when we still reacted to school shootings, that used to break through. But, yeah, it's very hard to break into that 89 million person orbit, because their timelines on social media look very different than ours. Ours are full of news sources and journalists and each other and activists and politicians. But most people's X or Instagram is celebrities and cooking and sports and things like that, not political. So it's very, very important that people recognize the best way to get information to people is to have it coming from a trusted source. And that's why you having these spread the pit conversations with the people in your orbit, right, that aren't already activated is so critical, because they're not going to listen to a commercial or something, but they might listen to you. If you go in there earnestly to try to convince them it's important to vote and to vote against, what Republicans are doing right now, right? So, and it just messaging source, like who the messenger is, matters almost more than a message at this point because of tribalism.
Mm-hmm.
So if Republicans or people who voted for Trump that are independents, we know the independents in the polling data have huge buyer's remorse already. I think it's negative 30 amongst independents, right?
Yep.
And we're starting to see some softening amongst Republicans. In fact, like today, the new YouGov economist poll released. I'm not right on this on the Substack, but I've been looking at approval of Trump amongst Republicans. And all this time it's been 90%. I mean, through COVID, 90%. Right? Right after Jan 6, before they started their Rewrite History tour, he dropped down into the 70s. Well, guess what, folks? He was back there today. It's the first time I've seen a dip in that poll, and that's a tracking poll. That's a online large survey sample database. That's why I track that one and a few others, right? And I'm going to be looking for more evidence, certainly, because one outlier or one change in the survey doesn't mean that we actually have a phenomenon, but we may have some splintering going on. I think people did not vote to have the world order turned upside down, right?
Well,
especially
especially Rachel, when you think about it in the context of that, I think of the words America first. How in the heck are some of the things that are being done outside of the U.S. about America first? I mean, there is no way, no strategic conversation I can have with the smartest of people, you and I sitting with the so-called smartest of people about Greenland is a smart move on any level when you compare that or juxtapose that to the campaign dialogue of America first. And that right there is a good example of where people have, when they don't understand that that's not you said you voted for. You couldn't vote for the woman 2 times. You couldn't vote for the woman of color 1 time. Yep. You said it was all these other things. It wasn't that. Yep. Okay, so if I take you at your word, then you should be the hottest one in the room. That's the thing that's crazy, Rachel. The people that you would think should be the most upset when it comes to quote-unquote politicians lying and not keeping their word is MAGA/GOP voters, because they were promised a certain thing and they haven't gotten it, and they don't want to acknowledge that they're not going to get it. They should be the hottest people in the room, but they're not.
They should.
Because they were told, if we were to believe them, that it wasn't about gender, it wasn't about race or culture, it was about the economy, it was about this, that, and the other, then y'all should be really upset. Pitchforks at the gates of the White House kind of thing.
Yeah, you would think. I mean, again, like we've for me, the message to people who voted for Trump. Now, I want to talk about this population, because it's not a homogenous group. We have 70% of Republicans that like this stuff, Richard. So
yep, I know.
And that translates to about 40 million of your friends, neighbors, coworkers, whatever, right? 40 million Americans actually want him to go further. They want him to round up Hillary Clinton and put Barack Obama in the noose. I'm not kidding.
I know.
That is the rhetoric out of 40 million people. But there's another 30% of that Republican voter people who cast a ballot for Trump. You got your low information swing voters that voted on Biden's old, right? You got them in there. And then you have what we call softer Republicans, so people who are independent, but they always vote Republican. We call them, right-leaning indies. And we sort them now, right-leaning indies into the two partisan camps because their voting behavior is so similar to an actual honest partisan, right? They're basically closet partisans, right? So there is a segment of that Trump electorate that is reachable, but the Trump base likes this. And it's so important for people to understand that because, with that 40 million people support, he has a lot of potential. I mean, this could be just the beginning of some very terrible things coming along.
Yeah. We're going to take a quick break. Rachel, stay with us for a bit. We'll be right back. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Joan Esposito, Live, Local, and Progressive. I'm Richard Chu, and we'll be right back.
It's a new year when people make resolutions to achieve something special, typically for personal growth. At Total Dentistry, we do the same, but our resolution is daily, consistent, year to year. And yes, you've heard it before. Total Dentistry, a general dental practice like no other. That is our declaration, our promise to you to provide individualized care to fit your needs. You see, at Total Dentistry, you're not just a chart number. You're not a tooth number. You're part of our dental family. So to us, transparency and trust is key. We understand that life has its challenges, and that's why we created TCP, Total Care Plan, a membership plan for those with no insurance, so everyone wins. So visit us today in person or online. Let's make the resolution to get you a new, happy, healthy smile the Total Dentistry way. Total Dentistry, 847-358-2477, or visit us at totaldentistry.org.
This is Tony Moret. I'm an estate planning attorney who drafts living trusts and wills for my clients. You have probably heard my ads here on WCPT for the last few years. Your fellow listeners, when we have completed their plans, say, I wish I had done this sooner. It wasn't nearly as hard as I thought it would be. We can complete your estate plan within 30 days or less. There are certainly decisions that need to be made, but my 30-plus years of experience will help guide you through this process. There may never be a perfect time to start, but whenever I'm asked when is the best time, my answer is always the same. Now is the best time, while it is on your mind. Being able to tell your family that you have an estate plan in place, that all the details have been taken care of, will be a great relief to both yourself and those you care for the most. Our initial consultation is without charge, and there is no obligation. My phone number is 847-996-0496, and my website is moreylawoffice.com, spelled M-O-R-E-E. I look forward to speaking with you.
Because facts matter. You're listening to WCPT 820.
Don't turn that dial. Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive, returns right now.
A fair balance where the facts come out.
On WCPT 820.
Hey guys, this is Richard Chu. I am sitting in for Joan Esposito. And as you guys may know, I'm the host of Chu's Views, weekdays, Monday through Friday, 6 to 8 a.m. here on WCPT. And I'm talking with our good friend and just wonderful individual, Rachel Bitecofer, political strategist, who's hanging out in her truck right now just because, Mother Nature decided to act a damn fool today. So
I got to tell you, it certainly isn't a 0 degree thing. Another thing that is good about the Pacific Northwest is it's temperate rainforest, not tropical rainforest, but rainforest, and so it only gets so cold. That said, of course, the heater gives out right in this cold snap of dry weather where it's super cold, and last night I slept like a little Eskimo. It was really funny.
So, Rachel, let me ask you this question regarding something you said earlier about the numbers for Trump were in the 90s. They went down to the 70s after J6, and they're kind of moving in that direction now. The first thing I thought when you said that, and I've been watching those numbers too, but the way that you position it, I wanted to ask you this question: What do we do? What do you think can or should be done, or a couple of things that can or should be done to keep those numbers being driving those numbers down? I drew an arrow on my notes that says, how do we drive those numbers, continue to get those numbers down, get them in the 60s? I know that's a lofty question,
Yep.
but what are your thoughts there?
No, I mean, well, there's some things that must happen. Number one, it's really important that the anti-fascist, anti-ICE movement out there maintains and holds the moral high ground. We just came out of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday yesterday, or on Monday. So, it's important to remind people why his advocacy and activism was so effective. It was designed to win the moral argument, right? Go into Birmingham, face these terrible, violent cops, and they did unleash violence, right? But what showed on American TVs won the moral argument. Do you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really important if you're engaged in protest and you see people wanting to get, out of hand, that you try your best to, influence those situations, because the more that we hold that moral high ground, the better. And what has to happen, to be honest with you, is in 2026, those tuned out people that aren't going to follow news and fall across news content on their own. So what that means is you have to get content to them, and who is going to do that? The vehicle for that is going to be the 2026 nominees for the Democratic Party in House, Senate, governor's races, and so on, right? So it's important that those people understand that they have to spread the pit with the electorate. They can't just assume that voters already know Donald Trump is destroying 80 years of the global world order. And by the way, what is or has been up until this moment every American's birthright, okay? Like, it's a smugness that we inherit when we were born here, that we lived on the greatest country on earth, the world leader of freedom around the world. That was us. Like, and I got to tell you, can you imagine losing that? That is it's quintessentially American. Right?
Well,
and now the people in Greenland are looking at us like we're Hitler. It's
I know.
Crazy.
So I thought about this morning. This is going to sound kind of harsh, but I'm just going to say it. Talking about birthright, you were talking about the 80 years, and we're talking about birthright citizenship. And this is what crossed my mind this morning. Usha Vance, JD's wife, is pregnant. Yes. And there was a split second when my brain went, "Ooh, she better be careful, because that baby may not have birthright citizenship." But but based on the rules, and I mean, I know that's mean, y'all. So nobody get their undies in a bundle. That she is, she was born in San Diego, so she was born here. But one could argue, well, what about her parents?
That's what they want to do ultimately, right? Because what's driving this is great replacement theory. So they can't just stop the flow of new, not white people, right? Their goal is to go and purge the existing populations. And so, Richard, you're not wrong to be concerned about birthright citizenship and about the slippery slope, by the way, because they're saying, we want to just take it away for people who are in the country undocumented and have a baby. Well, they're going to start there, but we all know where it will head. And it's, absolutely something that I'm glad that you're focused on, because it's very scary, slippery slope. But for me, the more fascinating question with Usha Vance is, does she understand that she's in a party that has a white nationalist base? Does she read her own comments? Because on X, her own MAGA people will say racist things to JD about his wife, and he is silent about it, right?
I know.
So it's just so weird, right?
As a guy, I mean, there's some language that I can softly use on the air as we wrap up, but I will keep it clean right now because I respect you, my audience, and myself. But at the end of the day, nobody gets to talk about my wife without suffering a level of discomfort. Now, I'm not advocating violence, but I'm just saying that's just, they're going to be a little uncomfortable.
Stand up for your woman.
I'm trying to tell you.
I mean, isn't that man rule number one?
It's
I'm
man.
not a man.
No, Rachel, listen. You and I roll tight, so we can say this. Yeah, it kind of is. If you're in a heterosexual relationship, Rule number one is you stand up for the lady as a guy, and that's not being sexist. That's been all that old male toxicity garbage.
I was 5'1" and 110 pounds at one point. I can't do it.
Well, listen, I stood up for my mother, and my sisters.
Yeah.
But in the space of what's happening from that party that they're a part of, this is something that people should be concerned about, that look like her, that have supported this garbage. And let's be honest, there's people of all of the communities of color who voted for this craziness. And we could go on and on and on. That's for another show. But Rachel, listen, as always, I told Lady B, I said, Rachel and I just had this good vibe, and it's back and forth, and it's easy, and the time's going to go by like that. So
I need to get you on the living history. We can let loose for another half hour.
Well, then you do that. You have my contact information.
I'll get you on there.
And and then when we let you go, I'll make sure that Lady B gets it to you before we. So don't hang up. I'll make sure she gives you my latest updates. Because let's do that. Let's make that happen, because I know folks will appreciate it.
Let's make it happen. We can continue the convo there. I'm really grateful every time you bring me on the show, especially getting to shout out to my Chicago peeps. I love Chicago. I love you.
Thank you so much, Rachel. Listen, please stay safe, and I know that you got to take care of some stuff there with how you're living, but be safe and keep us posted. But thanks for hanging out with us this morning, Rachel Bitecofer, y'all. And the way you check her out is go to the Cycle. You can check her out at the Cycle on social media, and her book, Hit 'Em Where It Hurts. Thanks for being with us, my dear. Appreciate you. All right. Lady B, let's take a quick break. 773-763-9278 is the number. You're listening to Richard Chu. I'm sitting in for Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive here on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago. We'll be right back.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers. So we build specially adapted homes at Homes for Our Troops. And thanks to our donors and supporters, this life-changing gift of freedom is provided mortgage-free to these veterans. But we need you to join us, too, in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Take your driving to the next level in a brand new Porsche from the Porsche Exchange in Highland Park. Browse and test drive our extensive selection, like the 2026 Porsche Macan. Right now, lease the 2026 Macan for only $949 a month for 39 months. Discover performance like no other when you visit the Porsche Exchange in Highland Park or PorscheExchange.com. 8,519 due assignment for qualified buyers. Excludes tax, title, license, and doc fee. No security deposit required. Expires 2/2/26.
Start off the new year on a healthier note by taking active liver supplements from New Nordic every day. Available online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com or at your local CVS, ShopRite, Meijer Grocery, or Wegmans.
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue. President Trump has decided to drop his threat of imposing tariffs on several European countries over Greenland.
It'll be explained, but it's a really good deal for everybody.
In Davos, Switzerland, the president announced a new framework with NATO on Arctic security.
It looks like we have the concept of it here.
Earlier, President Trump said the U.S. would not use force to pursue control of Greenland. Meantime, the president questioned NATO's commitment to protecting America.
In a speech to global elites in Switzerland, the president said the U.S. relationship with the alliance has been a one-way street.
I know we'd be there for them. I don't know that they'd be there for us.
Hours later,
let me tell you, they will.
NATO Chief Mark Rutte noted soldiers from allied countries died alongside Americans in Afghanistan after 9/11. The only time the alliance has invoked its Article 5 Mutual Defense Clause.
So you can be assured, absolutely, if ever the U.S. will be under attack, your allies will be with you. Absolutely, there's an absolute guarantee. I really want to tell you this because it is important. It pains me if you think it is not.
The president's response?
Well, I hope that that's true.
Sagar Meghani, Washington.
An appeals court suspended a decision that restricts the aggressive tactics of immigration officers in Minnesota. The government persuaded the appeals court to freeze a judge's ruling that bars officers from using tear gas and taking other steps against peaceful protesters in Minnesota's Twin Cities. Republicans in the House advanced a resolution resolution to hold former President Bill Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton in contempt of Congress over the Jeffrey Epstein investigation, opening the prospect of the House using one of the most powerful punishments against a former president for the first time. In New York, a former DEA agent was sentenced to 5 years in prison for using his badge to protect drug trafficking friends. After big losses yesterday, big gains at the closing bell today on Wall Street. This is AP News. There is a spat between Elon Musk and a top Irish corporate boss.
The CEO of Ryanair has dismissed Elon Musk's idea of buying the budget airline and has shrugged off insults from the billionaire in a war of words that erupted over installing Starlink systems on aircraft. The spat between the world's richest individuals and one of Europe's most outspoken corporate bosses has been escalating for days. O'Leary says the airlines ruled out putting Musk's Starlink satellite Wi-Fi on Ryanair planes because the extra fuel drag from the system's antennas would be too costly. Musk fired back on his social media platform X, calling Leary an utter idiot and an imbecile. He then polled his users on the idea of buying the airline. O'Leary says non-European citizens can't own a majority stake in a European airline anyway. Musk was born in South Africa and lives in the US. I'm Charles Dilatesma.
I'm Ed Donahue, AP News.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. An extreme cold watch will go into effect here early Friday morning. A few spotty snow showers at times here for this afternoon, mainly late with cloudy skies, a high in the lower 30s. Winds out of the southwest around 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 25. Tonight, a chance for some snow, areas of blowing snow likely with cloudy skies, a low near 13. Thursday, a slight chance for snow, late, a high of 25. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 28.
You're the only voice of reason on the radio.
You give me hope.
Having listened to you every day.
Thank you for your clear insight.
Always felt a little bit smarter.
I listen to you every single day.
I keep coming back to this station, and thank you for what you do.
On WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's Progressive Talk from TuneIn.
It's time for Joan Esposito. Live, local, and progressive.
Joan, as always, exceptional work from you from, your TV days all the way up to the day. You're truly exceptional, and thanks for this great show you have.
It's time for Joan Esposito on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Or her body double. Hey guys, this is Richard Chu from Chu's Views on WCPT, mornings 6 to 8 a.m. weekday mornings, sitting in for Joan. And all those wonderful comments from people are absolutely spot on. Joan is the truth, as I like to put it. Her legendary career in journalism here in Chicago is just that. And it's great to have her as a partner here on WCPT. And Joan and Patty and I are going to be we're going to be moderating the Senate Debate Forum that we're sponsoring with one of our union partners on Friday, February 6th at 1 p.m. So go to our website, visit heartlandsignal.com/forum and register today because seating is limited. We'd love to see you guys out there. But hanging out with Lady B, sitting in for Joan Esposito, I'm Richard Chu. And we appreciate you guys taking the time to be with us. I know we've got calls, guys. We've got some guests we want to get to. So just sit tight. We'll get to you. I promise you that. We're going to push through as quickly as we can, as efficiently as we can to get you guys on. We've had this gentleman on my show before, and I'll put this in the category, Lady B, of bench and strong leadership. We as Democrats, I say locally, statewide and nationwide, we have a great bench of people, quality, top-notch people that know what they're doing. They've served publicly, and they do a good job of it. Many people don't know this, but Aurora, the city of Aurora, it's gone from a town to city of Aurora, is the second largest or fastest growing in the state of Illinois. It's a suburb of Chicago, just west of downtown. And they get it done, and they've been making some great things happen. But that doesn't happen accidentally. It happens with good leadership. And with us this afternoon is John Laesch, who is the mayor of Aurora. Hey, Mayor, good to hang with you again. Hope you've been doing well. Happy 2026 now that we're, 21 days into the new year.
We'd probably still say Happy New Year, Richard. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I think we can get away with it through the end. By the time that the W-2 forms are out at the end of the month, we can probably get we can get away with still saying Happy 2026. On a national level, we kind of came out of the gate with just some despicable things from Trump's invasion of another country and kidnapping their president to one of our fellow Americans being gunned down in the street by the ICE Gestapo agents. I'm not even calling them ICE officers, but ICE thugs, because that's how they're acting. I'm just glad that your town, which has a strong immigrant population, has not been affected in that manner like Miss Good, who gave her life, did week before last. So how are things rolling in Aurora right now?
Well, it's another cold day, just like everybody else across the northern parts of Illinois. We have high levels of poverty, so we do have a homeless population. We made sure that we put a warming center together to keep those people out of the cold during the extreme temperature shift. Other than that, it's a normal day here in the city with a few bumps along the road, as every municipality has.
Yeah, and you've done such a great job of keeping your city moving forward and letting people know that it's a welcoming city and it's a city that cares about its citizens. And the folks that are being able to benefit from your leadership and having the warming center, it doesn't matter what their political stripe is. What matters is that that you guys are there to take care of them and provide them with those quote unquote least among us services. So kudos to you, Mayor Laesch, for that kind of leadership. It's greatly appreciated as your neighboring city here in Chicago. One of the things too that I want to say that's so cool about Aurora is that you guys are always doing something. And let me define or put some meat on that bone. You guys are always doing something to draw people into the city and to make it fun for people who want to come to Aurora and hang out for a couple of days or weekend. And it's become a little bit of a destination for a lot of folks that don't live there but do want to come and take advantage of some of the things that are going on. You've got Aurora Restaurant Week. You've got some of the other things that are going on with your green job training. Talk a little bit about that.
Sure, thanks. Yep. Well, it's cold, and a lot of people hit the gym up in January, but we've also got Restaurant Week, where a lot of our local restaurants in the downtown area that's got a lot of activity around the Paramount Center of the Arts. We're going to be opening up with a new show, Evan Hansen, and that draws a lot of people to our downtown area. Regionally, we're probably the entertainment hub outside of the city of Chicago. But even if people in Chicago want to hop on the Metro, Aurora's at the end of the line, and a lot of our small restaurants and entertainment are within walking distance of the Metro station, and we don't have expensive parking, and parking's $3 if you decided to drive. But for sure, Restaurant Week is going to draw a lot of people out to taste the cuisine that's been put together by a lot of local restaurateurs here in our downtown area. So that's an opportunity to support the restaurant. And then we did just open our CEJA Workforce Development Hub, and it's very exciting. There's 13 of these across the state of Illinois. And I believe ours is the only one that has both classroom space and an open shop space. Some of the pieces of it, the contracts and so forth, are still working their way through the Aurora City Council, but we did a launch event the other day, brought all the partners together to introduce them to both the City Council and the community, take questions, and sort of paint a bigger vision of how the city, as part of my goal, is to become a green building hub and focus on both the climate crisis and affordable housing crisis that we're experiencing here in our city and across the state and the nation, really.
One of the things that I'm probably going to talk about tomorrow morning on my show, since obviously I'm sitting in for Joan this afternoon, is that, the number of wealth management and other big firms that have been buying up, hedge funds particularly, have been buying up residential dwellings. And, that's something that's impacting folks across the country. And even in communities that are developing and growing like Aurora is, how is the housing, for lack of a better word, shortage or dilemma affecting the residents of your community?
Sure. Well, it's not just happening in Aurora. Again, this is a problem that impacts everybody. In fact, I literally just left the governor's homeless task force. The head of that organization had a meeting with a lot of municipal leaders out in DuPage County. And I literally said that we need to, not only do we need to build a safety net for people that lose their housing in this housing crisis, but we also have to find ways to limit BlackRock from buying up all the housing stock and driving up the cost of housing. So you mentioned it, you hit the nail on the head that the investment community, the investors are all buying up housing. They're outbidding young couples who are trying to buy their starter homes, and they'll just drop $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in a bidding war and buy the property out from underneath somebody, and then they turn around and use it for rental property. And, of course, that drives up the cost of rentals in the area, and it drives up the cost of housing if you add anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000 on the price tag of a single-family home. And it just becomes out of reach for a lot of people. So in the city, we're going to be looking at some zoning changes to address that down the road. But I brought it up at this forum simply because all the other municipalities need to hear it, and the state of Illinois also needs to do something about it. Without a doubt. We're going to take a quick break, Mayor Laesch. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive. And I'm Richard Chu, host of Chu's Views on WCPT, sitting in for Joan. We'll be right back.
It's the Democracy, Stupid, with Edwin Eisendrath.
Trump's undertrained and overarmed thugs continue to terrorize neighborhoods and threaten reporters. I stood with terrified parents outside a school. ICE had just done a drive-by, and that's all. They didn't make an arrest. They didn't even try. It was a show of force intended to frighten people. Chicagoans are documenting all of this. Chicagoans are standing up for America.
Edwin Eisendrath, Saturdays at 1 p.m. on WCPT 820.
Step into a world of obsession, seduction, and shocking consequences with Salome at Lyric Opera of Chicago, January 25th through February 14th. With Strauss's electrifying score and a powerhouse cast, this intense one-act thriller will leave you breathless. Experience the drama and danger of Salome live on stage. Tickets at lyricopera.org.
This is WCPT telling you how you can shop blue. Let's see if we can shop blue and slay by looking at clothing brands that support the Democratic Party. Nike. Now, yes, Nike's co-founder is very Republican. However, the other 83% of the company supports the Democratic Party. $894,000 in 2024. Dior. Now, Dior does not give to politics, but some of their employees do, and 84% of their donations went to Democrats in 2024. Adidas. Adidas also does not give to politics, but a lot of their employees do, as 97% of their employees' donations went to Democrats. Gucci. Gucci also does not donate to politics, but their employees do, and 84% of their employees' donations went to the Democratic Party. Chanel. Chanel also does not give to politics, but guess what? 99% of their employees donated to Democrats in 2024. I would hate to be that guy in the 1%. This has been WCPT telling you how you can shop blue.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
Now back to Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive on WCPT 820.
Hey guys, welcome back to Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive. I'm Richard Chu, host of Chu's Views here on WCPT, and I'm filling in for Joan. I'm her body double this afternoon. Joan will be back on the air tomorrow, and right now we are talking with the mayor of Aurora, Illinois, Mayor John Laesch. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Mayor Laesch. Let's talk a little bit about one of the things that you guys have been really, with your leadership again, instrumental in making happen, and let's talk about clean energy. We're talking about affordability of housing, and we know that that's a huge problem for pretty much every community in the country. But let's talk about energy and how you're navigating clean energy in the city of Aurora and kind of the surrounding area.
Yeah, thanks for bringing it up. I mean, that's something that I'm very passionate about. A lot of times when people think about the climate crisis, they start thinking directly about electric vehicles because about 25% of the energy use has to do with transportation, but the other big chunk of energy use has to do with heating and cooling spaces. And I got, when I first moved into my house on the east side of Aurora in 2008, I started getting these $500 energy bills in about January of 2009, and I figured I had to do something about it. I did some research, and as a carpenter, started to educate myself and came across something called the German passive house. So the Germans have figured out, in fact, it's building code over there, how to build a house that does not use a conventional heating or cooling system. It's got some fresh air ventilation, super insulated walls, and is ultra energy efficient. And it's become more commonplace from what it was back in 2008 and 2009. But here in Aurora, what we're going to do to reduce energy demand and strengthen our local economy is use this CEJA Workforce Development Hub to train Aurora workers and workers from the region on how to better construct houses to make them more energy efficient. Certainly we want to aim for that passive house construction. Now, we're doing a lot of this at a time when the federal government is pulling back from some of the incentives, but I think it's the perfect time as we're seeing the cost of housing and the cost of energy go through the roof. There's going to be a market for energy-efficient housing. So one of the big drivers, as you may know, in the energy market is additions of data centers. Mm-hmm. And there's even a very cool product coming online now with home battery storage. So people can get a battery outside of their house, and it is a smart battery. It redirects energy, stores energy, and then sells it. And the homeowner benefits from that and can recapture some of that money. But it's also a way to power up data centers with more stored energy. And, of course, if we put more green energy on the grid, that's going to help that out as well. But the concept behind a passive house, and they're called stretch codes in Illinois, is just to require more energy-efficient building standards. We're trying to lead the way here in Aurora, Illinois, and create incentives on top of other existing incentives from some of our utilities and from the state government to help us achieve that goal.
So with the passive house, I mean, I guess what popped in my mind initially as I go back to thinking about solar and house that's being powered by gas or electric right now that goes to solar. So if a house is currently gas or electric, can they become passive, or is it something that's just for new construction?
It's for both. Of course, anytime you're remodeling or rehabbing, the cost is much, much greater. We're looking at primarily new construction. I mean, I've personally been chipping away at my house and made it 80% more energy efficient over the years. But, I've got a lot of work to do. And so you can do both a remodel project and a retrofit, or you can do new construction. And through our training center, we're going to have programs for both, and we're also going to be looking at incentive programs for both.
Is the state, I shouldn't ask the question this way, but how is the state participating in this in terms of whether it be funding or advice or expertise or even some areas of job training in this space of the passive house?
Well, the CEJA Workforce Development Hub is the job training center. That's all state funded. Okay. That's all run through the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity and locally through the College of DuPage. So they are our partner. We're also partnered with the 548 Foundation, which is both a training center and a development center, to get more people good union-paying jobs in the construction world. And just a little sidebar, these jobs aren't going to be outsourced to another country, and they're not going to be taken by AI. So this is a safe place of employment, and as the climate crisis it gets worse, and the demand for energy-efficient housing increases, you're going to see that this is going to be a booming part of the local economy, hopefully here in the state of Illinois.
Yeah.
I don't know if I adequately answered your question.
No. The answer was you answered it by helping us remember that CEJA is funded through the state and with the partnership with the College of DuPage. So, yeah, indirectly there is that involvement. So that's good to see and good to hear. Let me ask you this last question as we wrap up today. And again, thank you, Mayor Laesch, for hanging out with us. As you look into this crazy year that we're in on a local, regional, and national level, and now globally, from a political standpoint, what are some of the things that you are trying to articulate to, your staff and the citizens of the city of Aurora, and preparing for things that a lot of people are candidly afraid of, whether it be ICE, further tariffs, invading Greenland, the list goes on. How are you kind of keeping your arms around everything when it comes to folks that are there?
I think, like the rest of America, we're watching in shock, especially. I mean, when you started the conversation saying the president attacked Venezuela, I thought you were going to say the president attacked Minneapolis. So
we wouldn't be wrong there.
Right? Well, you could just pick one. So we don't really know what is next. And a lot of us, just like everywhere else in the country, are sort of reacting with shock. But I think as we watch sort of the deterioration of the federal government, we also need to come together as a community, and that's what excites me a little bit is to see our community come together to protect each other. And Aurora Community Watch is a group that came together along with the Aurora Rapid Response Team when ICE was on our streets here in Aurora.
Yeah.
And they've continued to stick together. They're staffing the warming center. They're making sure that people who are undocumented and afraid to go out are getting food, participating with the local food pantries to make sure that they can have deliveries, and so people don't have to go out, but they're still getting fed. And, that kind of community taking care of community, I think, is the future of what we want America to look like, where we don't look at each other as our enemies with a red or a blue sign in our yard, but look at each other as Americans with human needs and concerns, and the understanding that we as ourselves as neighbors might also be in need of a friendly hand someday. So that's my focus, is to try and continue to build community. And I would say that this is one thing that the president has helped us, making us feel isolated from the federal government, has brought us together closer locally.
Got it. Yeah, that is a great way of looking at it. Mayor John Laesch, the mayor of the city of Aurora here in Illinois, thank you for being with us. We greatly appreciate all your hard work and taking some time to hang out with us here on WCPT. We'll talk with you soon, okay?
Appreciate it, Richard. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye now. Wow, there you go. Mayor Laesch is definitely one of those great leaders that we turn to get information. Smaller city, but one that's growing and very, very vibrant. Lady B, let's grab a couple of quick calls. Let's go to Ron here in Chicago. Hey, Ron, good afternoon and welcome to Joan Esposito Live, Local and Progressive.
Yes, thank you. Would it be wrong to say that when the first shot is fired to take Greenland, that would be the beginning of World War III?
Well, I think the question we might want to ask is if shots were to be fired. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that Greenland's going to be the first ones to fire. I don't know this from a military standpoint, but we invaded. Frankly, we invaded Venezuela, and we kidnapped their president. So some might say we're already there in a mild sense. But, the definition of us going to war, based on what we say in the Constitution, is that Congress declares that. But I get your question, and it's not falling on deaf ears. I would say that if shots were fired to take over parts of Greenland, then one would say we're at World War III, because NATO then has to make a decision as to how they're going to participate in that god-awful decision that would be made.
And also, nobody is bringing up that if we take over Greenland, we are going to put in nuclear weapons.
Yeah, I know.
There's no question about about that.
It's crazy, Ron. It really is. Listen, man, thank you for hanging on the line with us, and thanks for your contribution to the show. We greatly appreciate it, Ron. Stay safe. Let's go real quickly to Naomi, way out in Santa Monica, California, one of my favorite cities on the planet. Hey, what's going on, Naomi?
Yeah.
What you doing, girl?
Everything's good. How about you?
I'm good. Listen, I'm not going to lie. I love my city of Chicago. But I'm telling you, I'm checking air flights. I said to my wife, we could bump out to Santa Monica for the weekend and warm up a little bit.
Have you ever been to Sausalito?
Yeah.
I love Sausalito too, don't you?
I do. I totally. The short answer is yes. I won't go down the path of what I know about Sausalito and what I love about Sausalito. But one of my favorite jazz artists, the late George Duke, is from that part of California and wrote a song about Sausalito. So there you go. What can I tell you?
Didn't Otis write Sitting on the Dock of the Bay there too?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Yes. Look at you, Naomi.
Anyway,
what's going on?
So I was thinking about ice, crush that ice, I like to crush that ice. But anyway, what I was thinking, and I did make my phone calls yesterday, I believe that we should not fund anything at all from now on. You know why? Because they're not giving us anything anymore.
Nope.
They're just paying. No. So why should we pay our taxes and then send them the money? Why?
Yeah.
We don't give them any money at all anymore, period.
Well,
So I called my representatives and my senators.
Here's the thing, Naomi, to that point, not to interrupt you, but to that point, listen, if we're going to take, and I say this on my show pretty much every day now in the morning, that if we're going to allocate $170 billion for this Gestapo force, we could divide that amongst the top 20 cities, 10 red, 10 blue metropolitan areas in the country, and those cities would be better off having that money allocated to them to let the local officials do things to better their city across the board. And to that end, I would rather pay my taxes. I would rather pay taxes and have it go to that than this Gestapo force.
Yeah, but what I also heard is in the current budget, they're not giving the cop. They've reduced the amount of money for the cops.
Yeah,
I think so they already have reduced it.
It's complete. It's a complete gangster mentality.
Yeah, it's a criminal enterprise. But I still think that we shouldn't give them any funding. The Democrats should go no. It's like the word is no from now on any funding of any sort.
How about this as a visual, Naomi, then I'm going to let you go. How about if the Democratic voices in this space, leadership in Washington, stood on the Capitol steps and said no across the board? Every one of them they just went right down the line and said no. And the reason is that, and they would all have to say something like this. This is my wish list, because ICE is out of control. And then
no, that's not the only reason. It's not just ICE. They're not giving us any services anymore.
Well, no,
why should we give them money for other things too?
Yeah, no, I get it. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just putting that out there as an added bit to this conversation. So, Naomi, we've got to hit this break, but thank you so much for calling in. It's always great to hear your voice. I'm glad you're doing well. And yeah, I'd love to be in Santa Monica right now. Take care, Naomi. Be safe out there, okay?
Okay.
All right, bye-bye. Lady B, quick break. 773-763-9278 is the number. I almost said you're listening to Choose Views on WCPT. You're listening to Live, Local, and Progressive. Joan Esposito is out. I am her body double, Richard Chu, from Choose Views here on WCPT, weekdays 6 to 8 a.m. We'll be right back.
Hi, girls. It's the new year. What do you want to say to the people?
Be good to each other, and be good to yourself.
What does it mean to be good to each other?
Be kind to strangers, love your neighbor, let people love and live the way they want to. You know, all that good stuff that Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad, Krishna, and the Torah tell us to do.
And what's it mean to be good to yourself?
Eat right, exercise, get enough rest, don't stress out too much, and get acupuncture on the regular. With healthcare costs getting all out of control, it's great that Chicago Community Acupuncture offers high-quality care for only $50 a treatment. That's less than some people pay for a copay.
Yes, I'm grateful that we can help so many people. How do people find us?
You're at Milwaukee, Devon, and Nagel. They can call 773-853-0920. 773-853-0920. Or the website
ChiComAcu.
Chicomacu.com.
And Happy New Year!
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
I'm meteorologist Ray Miller from the Weatherology Weather Center. An extreme cold watch goes into effect Thursday night. Tonight, a little bit of blowing snow possible with a low temperature of 14 degrees. West winds up to 45 miles an hour. On Thursday, a chance of light snow showers with a high temperature of 25 degrees. West winds up to 35 miles an hour, so blowing snow possible once again. Thursday night, partly cloudy, 6 below zero. Wind chills as cold as 30 below. That's the latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 28.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter.
Now back to Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive on WCPT 820.
Hey guys, welcome back to Live, Local, and Progressive. Joan Esposito, but this is Richard Chu sitting in. As I've said today, I'm her body double. Thanks for being with us this afternoon. Tonight on Driving It Home, stay tuned. Patty Vasquez will be joined by Owen Sullivan, freelance journalist based in Copenhagen, Missouri, Democratic House Minority Leader Ashley Awney, who will also be joining Patty. And then in the second hour of the show, Patty will join, Up North podcast with Monaco Brewing Company, and contributors Kirk Bankstead, Ben Kamenos, Amy Thomas, and more. That's Live, Local, and Progressive. This is Live, Local, and Progressive, Lady B. That's Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez. Patty, don't be upset. Weekdays 5 to 7 here on WCPT, Heartland Signal. Tune in, YouTube, and Facebook. So there you go. Stay tuned for Patty's show. I said this all the time, and it's true. We have some really, really, really great people in our digital newsroom, and it takes good leadership. It takes people that understand what's topical, and then how to do the necessary research to bring those conversations to bear. With us this afternoon is Aaron Kleinman. He's the new head of research at Heartland Signal, and good to have you with us this afternoon, Aaron. How are you doing?
Doing great, Richard. Thanks so much for having me on the show.
Absolutely, Mr. Head of Research. So tell us what's going on. You have been very busy of late. So talk to us about what's happening in your world when it comes to research for work with Heartland, but also just in general, some of the things that you're covering and that you see are incredibly topical that we need to be spending more time discussing.
Yeah, and so right now it's the start of the year, and one of the big things going on that not a lot of people are paying attention to is that it's the start of state legislative sessions across the country. You're going to have new laws proposed, they're going to be considered, they're going to be voted on, they're going to become law in pretty much all 50 states this year. And just not, unfortunately, not a lot of people are looking at those. And so we take it upon ourselves to go through and find the most relevant bills to people's lives, and we try to talk about them. And we actually are launching a newsletter called Radio Free America, where we're really going to delve into what's going on at the state level in this country and just try to keep everyone informed about that.
Well, one of the things that Rachel Bitecofer said, who was on with us earlier in the show, Rachel was saying how that, and I know this, and this is something that we all have the opportunity to be more a part of. And she said, spread the pit. And what she means by that, and you may already know, spread the pit. And that's getting the message out, getting the messages out, getting the topics out to people who may not be plugged in by choice. Or they just become disenfranchised, and know what the topics are. I was surprised, but not, when she said that she's talked to some people in her world and asked them about, what are their thoughts about Greenland, and they didn't even know, which is baffling to me. But then when you step away from that and you draw the lens back and go, okay, I can understand why in some ways, we have 89 million people that didn't participate in the 2024 election. So I don't know what your thoughts are about that in terms of spreading the pit, meaning the pit in your stomach, about what's making you crazy. But there are so many things that I just don't see that people are plugged into. And when they do plug in, Aaron, they plug into things that, not that they're mean, but they mean less, but they certainly aren't the topics that we should be leaning into the most right now. What are your thoughts there?
I mean, I think what you need to do is you need to find as many different, relevant, true things that, may not reach people, and just try to get them out there as much as possible. And I actually don't believe at all in being on message. Because if you just focus on the one or two things that everyone is talking about, you just get lost in the din. But if you're going to go out there and actually publicize, hey, by the way, did you know that there was this, there's this bill in West Virginia that does, has this insane idea of basically intervening in church disputes and basically letting the government take sides in disputes between churches. Isn't this nuts? That might be a thing that someone remembers much better than kind of the back and forth around Greenland or immigration. And so if you can kind of find things that are very weird but sticky and try to get them out there and really, get into people's heads that really we're looking at a very extreme opposition right now. And, Donald Trump, he can't run again. The people that are going to take over, the people that you actually can vote for, have these really, irrespective of him, whatever is going on with him, the other people on the ballot with sharing the party with him are just so extreme, so out of touch with what the people of this country want and need. And these are the examples of that. And I think that's how you start kind of chipping away at their support and building support for an alternative to MAGA.
So let's talk about that then in terms of a local versus a broader, conversation. So local issues are what I try to focus on. I have a decent balance of that on my show each day. So local issues obviously are ones that are going to affect the guy and the gal right down the street that are, they can range from economics, they can range to safety, they can range, into the space of infrastructure, and the list goes on. But those are also part of, those are topics that are part of national conversations as well. It's just that it sounds like what you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, that to get more people involved potentially is to talk about things that may be boring and not particularly nationally sexy topics, but ones that are just right around the corner items. Is that part of what you're saying or articulating?
Yeah, part of it, but it also has to be some things that grab people's attention a little bit. Give us an example. For example, in states really across the country, there have been laws proposed that would force states to study chemtrails and ban explicit, geoengineering, explicitly trying to change the climate or emit these through chemtrails. This is a conspiracy that was a joke in the 90s that we made fun of Alex Jones for promoting and is now directly within the Republican mainstream. And in fact, I think Florida became the first state to actually adopt this law, again, to fight a non-existent problem. So you have Republican state lawmakers in Republican states putting in place conspiracies that exist that were a joke 30 years ago. It's an example of kind of how extreme things have gotten. And so you can kind of get examples like that from all over the country. There's also all the anti-vax stuff, for example. Vaccination is still incredibly popular. More than we still get around 90% of kids get vaccinated, but you have this raft of anti-vaccine bills across the country, and they're actually being enacted in red states. And you're starting to see measles outbreaks in those states. I don't think measles is very popular. And so, again, if you get away from the issues that kind of dominate, kind of traditional news and get into what's actually going on in the states, these extreme ideas that were fringe decades ago but are now firmly in the Republican mainstream, it's kind of, hopefully can be a wake-up call for people.
So that wake-up call is to who? Is it to the folks on the right? folks on the left, folks in the middle, because different states are going to have different issues. And inevitably, it seems that we would then slide into talking about national issues or the bigger, more boring ones. But how do you dissect the three, our three primary categories of voters, even on a local level, red, blue, and in the middle?
Yeah, so I would say blue. I think Democratic voters by and large are very motivated right now. You look at kind of recent polling. If you look at just voters who are likely or very likely to vote in 2026, Democrats have, I think, a 13-point lead among those voters, which is like unheard of. If you look at special elections, which tend to be lower turnout, you have huge overperformances. I think the Democratic base is like really, really excited to vote because they are so mad at what's going at the state of this country. Voters in the middle are souring on certainly Trump, but you need to close the deal with them, first of all, by convincing them that, Democrats are going to, deal with issues that matter to them. And actually this week, in our news, we're going to talk about, there's a Democratic state senator in Minnesota, Aaron May Quaid, who's, one of the kind of at the forefront of trying to stand up to Elon Musk's porn machine that he's created with Grok. You also point out things like how extreme Republicans have gotten and how they're, basically selling their states off to crypto interests, or like trying to nullify federal laws and all these, really things that would really harm the people living there. And they don't have the interests of them in mind. They just have the interests of, kind of their fellow fringe conspiracists and their donors in mind. And then the red voters, it's, I don't believe that. I think very few people are totally out of reach, ultimately. There's a lot of things that go into someone's politics. And anytime you can just get something in their minds to be like, that's not something I really support. They can blow it off, and I'm 99 times out of 100, it probably makes no difference. But if you can get a little bit of doubt in there, maybe that's a little pebble that turns into a landslide. I don't know. Yeah. So that's kind of how I see those categories of voters.
Got it. Aaron, we're going to take a quick little break, so stay with us. The number is 773-763-9278. I'm Richard Chu, sitting in for Joan Esposito, and we'll be right back.
At Straight Talk, we get it. You say no a lot.
Mom, can I get a tarantula? No. Coffee?
No. So we're giving you more reasons to say yes, like a free 5G phone with real unlimited data with select plan activation.
Can I use the free phone?
Yes. See? Doesn't it feel good to say yes to more?
Absolutely. Face tattoo? Absolutely not.
Available at straighttalk.com and Walmart. Taxes and fees apply. In-store activation of Gold Unlimited plan or higher required. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com.
You still thinking job change in the new year?
Yeah, I need something that's in high demand and more stable in this economy.
IT?
Yeah, cybersecurity, maybe even AI.
That's what I did.
Really? How?
Went to My Computer Career. You don't need any prior experience, and you could start your new career in a matter of months. A lot of IT pros go to school there, too, to level up.
Sweet. Are classes online or on campus?
Both.
Wow, I'll check it out. Thanks.
Make this your year. Take the free career evaluation now at mycomputercareer.edu. An Elite CompTIA certification partner.
Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Now back to Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive on WCPT 820.
Welcome back to Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive. I'm Richard Chu, host of Chu's Views on WCPT. Monday through Friday, 6 to 8 a.m. I'm Joan's body double this afternoon, so just to let you know. Talking with Aaron Kleinman, who is the new head of research at Heartland Signal, and talking about how we, in our effort to bring more people into the conversation, we might need to take a slightly different position or angle in terms of talking to people about topics and finding out what's on their mind. So, Aaron, I want to ask you this question. In your research, though, so this is the one. In your research, are you finding that people are saying to you, hey, Aaron, quote, y'all are talking about all this national stuff. I could care less about Greenland. I want to know about fill in the blanks. And that may be right, left, and in the middle. Are you getting that kind of data back that says that and supports that theory, or where's that really coming from?
So the data that we have is that the voters that matter don't seek out the news.
They don't say that again. They don't what?
They don't seek out the news. They don't want the news. They don't look for issues at all. The news has to come to them. And so what we're seeing that, so I think the answer, how do you solve for that? Because the people that you need to win over don't want to hear from you necessarily. So I think what you do is, instead of really kind of focusing too much on those national issues, which they're ignoring, you try to get as many bits of information out there as possible, relentlessly.
Yeah.
And hope that some of them get to their way. And you try to do things that may not necessarily scan as typical politics, may make someone stop and say, huh? And that's how you get to those people. The people who say, I want this in the news, the people who kind of have an opinion on the news are already kind of in a camp. And so the solution is really to kind of just broaden our horizons about what we talk about. And that, I think, and brought in really, so national issues tend to get funneled to Trump. They tend to get funneled to a few different figures there. And so they tend to be very well covered. But if you go to the state level, you'll find all of these super interesting, notable things happening there that just don't make it through that din, that don't make it to these people. And if you can kind of elevate what's going on and how there's one party that really is looking out for people and one that has just gone totally insane and corrupt, then if you can just find as many different ways to get that across to people, that's what you need to do.
So one of our listeners just sent this to me as a text, and I'm going to read it with I don't think I need to edit anything, but this is what this listener said out of New York. He's saying, they're saying to tell your MAGA neighbor that the orange one is going to ban all porn on the internet and make Viagra and condoms unaffordable. Stuff like this gets their interest. Until they remember they're still hating on you and want ICE at your door. I mean, I know that's really kind of pushing the extreme, but there's some. Well, but not necessarily.
Hold on.
You're about to say, okay, all right, I'll stop there,
Hold
Aaron.
on.
Go for it, man.
Because I can't speak to Trump banning porn, but what I can say is that in the state of Mississippi, a number of porn sites did have to get taken down because the state implemented very strict rules around age verification. This is Mississippi. There was a right-wing led effort. And so what I would say is, like, you can say, oh, Trump is going to do this thing, and maybe it's like, but if you look at the state level, you may find that Republicans have already done that. And I think that when you're talking to someone who's MAGA, instead of going after Trump himself, which they probably have a very intense personal fealty to, talk instead about the people that will be in charge of the show once Trump's gone. He's only allowed to be president for another 3 years. And so, with an eye toward the future, talk about, Trump may be in there for the next 3 years, but once he's gone, the people in charge are going to try to ban porn.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Okay.
And you have data that they are already doing it.
Yep, I get it. So there's already, the precedent's not the right word, but there's already a seeding process that's taken place, using Mississippi as an example, and then find 5 to 10 other topics that are going to be state legislated, and then use those as ways to sort of crack into and talk to people about issues that are state driven or local driven, but then how that impacts some of the national conversation. Okay.
Well, and stuff at the state level gets national pretty quickly. For example, like 2 years ago, I saw a bill out of Kentucky, and I was like, that's weird. They want to ban fluoridation in Kentucky. And now you have the Secretary of Health and Human Services saying that everyone in the country should take fluoride out of the water. Now, I imagine that there are a bunch of Republican-leaning dentists out there who, maybe some of them just would love more business, but I bet a lot of them are also like, this is a really bad idea.
Yeah, there's some Hippocratic Oath stuff in there that would probably put them in a bad way, given do no harm and not prescribing fluoride for someone or in situations where it's necessary Yeah. Okay. Keep going. I'm sorry, Aaron. My brain went on.
No. And so if you look at what's going on at the state level, you see kind of how extreme things. It's like this stuff goes national eventually.
Yeah.
And so if you pay attention to what's going on, you can stay a step ahead of the curve. And you can, and it helps your credibility. And you're like, by the way, they're going to ban fluoridation in water. They're going to go after chemtrails. They're going to go after no-fault divorce. They're going to go after gay marriage. Those are all things we're seeing at the state level. And so, you can stay a step ahead of the curve if you just kind of try to stay abreast of this stuff. And the way you do that, by listening to WCPT 820 and going to heartlandsignal.com.
That is right. I tell people all the time, if you've got folks that you're struggling to communicate with, I say this every morning, Aaron, go to heartlandsignal.com and share the links with people that no matter where they sit politically, on any level, anywhere in the country, because we're blessed to have such a talented group of people in our digital newsroom. But the other riding along with that is the quality of information that they probably aren't going to get from some of the national quote unquote corporate media entities. So yes, nice plug there, and I'm with you. I agree. So listen, man. Let me come back to something that you wrote recently, and as we wrap up. And thanks for hanging out this afternoon. The Tennessee election that took place, and a piece that you wrote back in December about the Republican Party basically needs to pay attention because that wasn't an accident that the Tennessee election and the November 4th elections happened in the way in which they did. I know that's two separate things, but they're in the same car, just different seats in the car. Talk a little bit about what you were writing there and what you're seeing from those two outcomes.
Yeah, and so the important thing from those late 2025 elections is that they were high turnout. Because going into 2024, one thing that gave Democrats hope was that they'd actually done pretty well in the special elections leading up to the election. Things don't go well, and after the election we figure out it's like, well, the people who kind of are super voters who go out to vote in every election, yeah, they're Democrats now. But the people who don't really pay attention to the news, the people I was talking about earlier, the people who only sporadically vote but will definitely come out in a presidential and probably come out in a midterm, they lean more Republican. So, when Democrats have a good special election result, Republicans are like, all of you activists, Soros paid, whatever, you go out and vote in every election, but when everyone votes, we can win. And so these elections in 2025 turned that on its head because what you saw was a very high turnout. In the special election, you had higher turnout than there was in the midterm election there in 2022. That's how high the turnout was. And you saw huge shifts to Democrats pretty much everywhere, but especially kind of in suburban, like kind of inner ring suburban areas. And also huge bounce backs to like 2020 levels with Latino and Asian voters. And so, after 2024, people were worried that there's kind of this new MAGA coalition, with a lot of, Latino and Asian voters, with a lot of, young voters. That all disappeared. Mm-hmm. And right now you see a lot of former Republicans are voting Democratic, and the bleeding for them is especially bad in kind of the suburban areas where they had a bit of a bounce back from 2020 to 2024. But now, so there should be warning signs everywhere for Republicans. And, they haven't done much since then to right the ship. If anything, they're becoming even more unpopular. And so, for the good of the country, I hope they come to their senses. But if they don't, then you're looking at a pretty significant blue wave in November.
Yeah. And I believe that data is accurate based on everything that I've been reading. Aaron, thanks so much for hanging out with us today. Aaron,
thank you for having me, Richard.
Oh, absolutely, man. Aaron Kleinman is the new head of research at Heartland Signal, which is our digital platform. And listen, if you don't hang out at our digital platform, you're missing a wonderful opportunity to have information that you can share with people that you care about, that you're trying to do what Aaron said, which is provide them with new different angles of stories and such. Aaron, be safe, my man. Thanks for being with us this afternoon. We will talk soon.
Thanks for having me. And everyone, sign up for our newsletter.
That's right. All right, man. Be well. Talk to you soon.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, we got a little bit of time, Lady B. Let's see if we can grab a quick call from Connie in Forest Park, Illinois. Hey, Connie, good afternoon and welcome to Joan Esposito, Live, Local, and Progressive.
Thanks very much for taking my call on this cold day. I have a question or a statement, either one, take it in how you want. I wish that you guys, all the anchors on WCPT, would ask every guest you get, and there quite a few of them are very knowledgeable, the one with you just had on. I wish this question could have been posed to him, but I'd like to have this posed to all people of importance who have important things to say, who are knowledgeable. And that question is, what do we do at the midterms when Trump cancels them? Because he's going to cancel them, in my belief, my firm belief. He has done things we could never imagine him doing. He's invaded Venezuela, and he's talking about Greenland. He does things that are so outlandish and declares things, whether they're true or not. It's well within reason to believe this guy will just cancel the elections on the basis of some fraud thing. You know, we don't know what's going on. There's fraud going on. It's rampant fraud. We find ballots in dumpsters. We find things in ditches, you know, and we don't know what's going on, and they're going to make it all up. It'll all be lies. Won't make a difference. Excuse me. But he'll probably say something like, we have a security crisis here, and I'm going to forego the election until we can see what the hell is going on. He loves that phrase, and just cancel it or postpone it or something like that. So my question is, what do we do? Are our leaders planning for what to do in that event?
First of all, a great question, Connie. We're going to hit a break in a second, but stay with us for a few seconds. First step is we have to win the midterms. We win the midterms. That puts a huge dent in the ability, and the key word is the ability for him to execute that plan. We have to win the midterms. We win the midterms, we get a lot of tools in our toolkit that we can then apply. But I hear what you're saying. It does not fall on deaf ears, and I will do a better job of just asking people who have that political strength and knowledge, how do we navigate through that?
Well, my question, though, is about the midterms. I think those are the ones he'll cancel.
Well,
he knows he's losing.
Well, I think that, see, here's the thing with the midterms. We won't, state elections, I'm sorry, those elections are run by the states. So, you know, to have that happen, I don't see us as at risk with that because of the fact that we have states that run those elections. Now, on a federal level, there's things that he can try to do. I'm with you on that. But like I said, I don't know the specific answer or the nail-to-the-wall answer on that. But what I will add to my repertoire when I'm on the air and certainly others is how do we navigate as we get closer if that's the direction that he tries to go. Connie, we've got to take a break. I hear your question loud and clear, and I will keep it strong in my questions as well, okay?
Sure, thanks.
All right, let's take a quick break, Lady B. 773-763-9278 is the number. You're listening to Joan Esposito, Live, Local, and Progressive. I'm Richard Chu, her body double, and we'll be right back.
It's a new year when people make resolutions to achieve something special, typically for personal growth. At Total Dentistry, we do the same, but our resolution is daily, consistent, year to year. And yes, you've heard it before. Total Dentistry, a general dental practice like no other. That is our declaration, our promise to you to provide individualized care to fit your needs. You see, at Total Dentistry, you're not just a chart number. You're not a tooth number. You're part of our dental family. So to us, transparency and trust is key. We understand that life has its challenges, and that's why we created TCP, Total Care Plan, a membership plan for those with no insurance, so everyone wins. So visit us today in person or online. Let's make the resolution to get you a new, happy, healthy smile the Total Dentistry way. Total Dentistry, 847-358-2477, or visit us at totaldentistry.org.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers. So we build specially adapted homes at Homes for Our Troops. And thanks to our donors and supporters, this life-changing gift of freedom is provided mortgage-free to these veterans. But we need you to join us, too, in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Start off the new year on a healthier note by taking active liver supplements from New Nordic every day. Available online at Amazon or newnordicusa.com or at your local CVS, ShopRite, Meijer Grocery, or Wegmans.
AP News, I'm Ben Thomas. A whirlwind day in Davos, Switzerland saw President Trump backing off his tariff threat against European allies over Greenland. Sakar Magani has details.
The abrupt cancellation came after the president said he and NATO's chief agreed on a framework of an Arctic security deal while meeting in Switzerland.
Really fantastic for the USA. Gets everything we wanted.
Without giving details. That was hours after an extraordinary speech in Davos, where the president said he wanted to own Greenland.
A piece of ice, cold and poorly located.
And vital to U.S. security, insisting NATO help America take Greenland from fellow ally Denmark.
It's a very small ask.
Earlier this week, the president threatened tariffs on Denmark and 7 other allies starting next month, unless they helped transfer Greenland to U.S. control. Sagar Magani, Washington.
The news from Davos helped prompt a rebound on Wall Street. The Dow, S&P, and the Nasdaq all rallied about 1.2%, recouping at least some of yesterday's losses. The Supreme Court heard arguments over President Trump's attempt to fire Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook. Lisa Dwyer has this one.
The justices seemed inclined to keep Cook in her job. Justice Brett Kavanaugh, a Trump appointee, says,
no remedy available, very low bar for cause that the president alone determines. I mean, that would weaken, if not shatter, the independence of the Federal Reserve.
No president has fired a sitting governor in the 112-year history of the Fed, which was structured to be independent of day-to-day politics. Justice Kavanaugh also raised questions on the future effects of the case.
What goes around comes around.
I'm Lisa Dwyer.
And an appeals court suspended restrictions on immigration officers' aggressive tactics in Minnesota. This is AP News. President Trump's departure from Washington ran into issues last night.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says about an hour after President Trump left Joint Base Andrews for the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, Air Force One returned to Andrews because of a minor electrical issue. A reporter on board says the lights in the press cabin went out briefly after takeoff, and about a half an hour into the flight, reporters were told the plane would be turning around. Trump then boarded an Air Force C-32, a modified Boeing 757 used by the president for domestic trips to smaller airports. The 2 planes right now used as Air Force One have been flying for almost 40 years. Boeing has been working on replacements, but that work has faced a series of delays. The luxury Boeing jumbo jet gifted to Trump by Qatar is currently being retrofitted. Donna Warder, Washington.
There's more news at apnews.com. I'm Ben Thomas.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
I'm meteorologist Ray Miller from the Weatherology Weather Center. An extreme cold watch goes into effect Thursday night. Tonight, a little bit of blowing snow possible with a low temperature of 14 degrees. West winds up to 45 miles an hour. On Thursday, a chance of light snow showers with a high temperature of 25 degrees. West winds up to 35 miles an hour, so blowing snow possible once again. Thursday night, partly cloudy, 6 below zero. Wind chills as cold as 30 below. That's the latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 28.
Remember when you get to work to hop over to WCPT820.com or the TuneIn Radio app and stream The Stephanie Miller Show. Weekdays 8 to 11 a.m. on Chicago's Progressive Talk, where facts matter. This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive.
Quite frankly, I get most of my news from you.
Joan Esposito.
Y'all ready for this?
On WCPT 820.
Well, today you're getting it from me. I'm Richard Chu from Chu's Views on WCPT, sitting in for Joan Esposito. Looking to purchase a new home? then you need to do what we did and call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender. Don, trucker, 30, married to Mary, teacher's aide, 29, 2 kids, combined income, $120,000 a year. Call Team Hochberg to secure a mortgage on their first home. David answered all their questions, explained the funds required for down payment and closing costs, then introduced them to an experienced realtor. Let's review. David answered Don and Mary's questions, introduced them to a realtor, and helped them secure a mortgage on their new home with a backyard, and they can build everlasting memories. If you're purchasing a new home and would like the same outstanding service as Don and Mary, call David now at 855-56-DAVID or 56david.com. Team Hochberg helped me and thousands of WCPT listeners, but he can't help you if you don't call. 855-56-32843 or visit 56david.com. Don't take my word for it. Check out Team Hochberg's over 700 5-star reviews. Lower.com equal housing lender, NMLS 1124061. All right. So funny people help our lives. It gets us down the road. Every now and again, I'm going to watch an old comedy where the star of that movie makes you laugh. And one of our team members, one of our partners in our progressive conversation, is also one of America's top comedians and top voices when it comes to where we have to be right now and what we have to fight for. And I am talking about Hal Sparks from Hal Sparks Mega Worldwide here on WCPT. Uh-oh, did we lose him? Hal, you there? Uh-oh. Sorry. That's okay. He's there, I think. Yeah. He's there. All right. Hang loose, guys. Stay with us. This is always fun. We'll try again. Oh, we'll see. All right, so Hal's going to be with us in a moment. We're just trying to work our way through some technology things that happen every now and again. But just to let you guys know, progressives, tomorrow from 6 to 8 p.m., I will be moderating the Indivisible Rally and Town Hall in Elk Grove Village at the Elk Grove Village Library from 6 to 8 p.m. So that's the Moving Forward 8 Illinois, Moving Illinois 8 Forward. And that's the Indivisible group out in Elk Grove Village. Some of the people that'll be there with us are Kevin Morrison, who's been on my show, Dan Tully. So looking forward to being there. If you guys have a chance, you might want to pop in, and we'll have a chance to meet. But that's what's happening tomorrow from 6 to 8 p.m. Are we good to go? Oh, there he is, Hal Sparks.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hey, I was, it's sad because I was saying so many pithy and funny things, and you couldn't hear them, and I feel like everybody's been denied it. And the moment has passed, so I'm not going to repeat them. But trust me, they were genius.
The fact that you said they were, we're going to believe you. Whatever you say, Hal, we know it's the truth. And unlike some other person out there that is orange and very, very smelly, possibly.
Oh, definitely.
Oh.
I love the fact that there's a big debate going on my show right now that whether Trump wandered to the window during the oil meeting last week because he was just an old man looking at grass grow, or because he had broken wind so soundly that he was trying to clear for the execs because he was worried that they would get with. He doesn't care if his staff does, but he's worried about these rich and powerful people knowing what he smells like for real.
That's what happened, man. He got up because he had to break some wind, and when he broke, that's exactly what happened. He tried to be cool about it, but have you seen how any of those videos on social media of artists who are performing and they've got the heat sensor? I don't know what that's called, but it's sort of it shows the body temperature.
Oh dear!
You see?
Oh dear!
You know what I'm talking about, man. Come on, Hal.
Exactly
don't be like that.
No, the nice thing about comedy is that you could use it, but if you're a dance artist, that's got to be terrible. And the sad thing is in a lot of those situations, they're lip syncing. So you can also tell they're not singing at the same time. So the only air that's exiting their body is coming from a non-instrument source.
Well, that depends on what you call an instrument.
True. Right. Obviously, there's that French guy who can, break wind to the national anthem or whatever. He's a very talented human being. I don't want to take anything away from him, but I also don't want to be downwind either. In Trump's case in particular, that he does not care about even his supporters or followers, catching whiff. But he certainly does when it comes to the rich and powerful, because this entire term is about padding his family's fortune after he leaves office.
Yep.
That's the only.
It's that simple.
That is priority number one. Even Greenland, this whole nonsense, which, by the way, he totally deflated while he was there this time. It was always nonsense, but he had to call it as nonsense because it was affecting the stock market, and that's all he cares about in that regard. Because everybody,
And how do we know? And how do we know that the people that are outside of view in his orbit, they sat back and played the market. They knew that he was going to do this.
Absolutely.
Drive it down for a day and a half, and then make another statement to drive it back up. So what they sat on the sidelines with cash. I mean, I know how this works. You know how it works. They sat on the sideline with cash, and when things went down, they made purchases. When things came back up, they bought at a discount, and they made a ton of money. Listen, y'all, if you don't believe that happened, I'm sorry, but you just ain't paying attention, because that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened.
That's why Howard Nuttlick laughs every time Trump says something that could wreck the market. And I swear to God, at some point we're going to have to go back and review all the footage of Howard Nuttlick and Bessent. And there's going to be some sort of sports third baseman signal that they make, because they know they tell their broker, hey, watch what Trump's going to say. We're not 100% sure he's going to do it, but we're fairly sure he's going to do something really stupid, because I or Stephen Miller put the bug in his ear. And if he does it, sell, sell, sell. And if he doesn't, buy, buy, buy. That's really what it is.
There's going to be. It's sort of like, do I have my tie more askew to the left or askew to the right? And and listen, y'all might be laughing at Hal and I because of how we're positioning this, but don't laugh out of these guys are crazy.
No,
this is what they're doing.
It's strategic.
It's
tactical.
Yes,
and it's worth millions of dollars to them.
Yeah, it is.
Insider trading is one thing, and there's been a lot of talk about Congress and whether they should be able to buy or sell stocks and all that kind of stuff, which I think is worth debate. I think a blind trust is the best way to handle it. The idea that they wouldn't own any is in some degree a mistake, because they would be completely devoid of it. They'd be able to buy and sell currency, and they would find another way to manipulate the market to benefit themselves that way, as opposed to being investors in the future to some degree, right? There's a debate to be had there. But make no mistake, these guys make money on whether the money is going, whether the stock market's going up or down. And since they can put their thumb on the scale, they can guarantee a return for themselves and their buddies and their friends and their family and stuff. And so while we're focused on Congress not being able to own stock, what about people in the administration? Anybody who's been, it would have to be a limitation, and I think this is wise as a piece of legislation going forward, is that people in the administration can't, and people, whether they've been confirmed or not, which will be the difficult part, because, Trump has put in all these acting people in these positions because he can't get them through the Senate for this kind of behavior.
And it also provides them with cover. In being the acting person versus one that's actually been confirmed, because then they haven't had to swear to do the job that they're being screened to do. I think as you're describing that, and we're both talking about it, it makes me think of the scene in the movie Trading Places with Eddie Murphy, where the Duke brothers say, well, whether the market's up or the market's down, the Duke brothers make money. And he said, well, it sounds like y'all a bunch of bookies. And
bookies, yes.
Remember that scene? And that's kind of what's happened. That's what happened in the last 48 hours. So,
but they're also the kind of bookies, it sounds like you guys are bookies, and you've got you're tied in with the trainers, and so which horse they're going to dope or not. Mm-hmm. And that's the other thing. It's a little more like the movie Snatch, if you remember that. The boxing matches all being fixed, like all of Bricktop's fights are fixed, or every third one. So I guess they can, otherwise nobody would bet.
They would deflect.
That's the other trick. Yeah, is that you can even manufacture a loss a minor loss on purpose when you know a bigger payday is coming to give, if you had to testify like, well, I lost money on this deal, like, yeah, you lost 85 cents, but you made 75 million over here.
Right.
And that's the whole, the entire, I don't know how much people grasp this. Trump hasn't built anything on his own ever, and and since his dad, left the company to him, or he took it over in a hostile takeover from his brother Fred, or however that worked out, that family has not produced a building of any merit whatsoever. And even the Chicago Tower is a group of investors. It just has it's like a branding exercise. It's not.
And heavily financed, and not. And obviously the issue with Deutsche Bank, which we don't even talk about anymore.
Russian money,
without a doubt. Let's take a quick break, man. 773-763-9278 is the number. I'm Richard Chu, talking with our great friend Hal Sparks, sitting in for Joan Esposito, and we'll be right back.
Stephanie Miller.
It's another true Stephanie Miller Show story, Chris LaVoy. Yeah, from with Jane in St. Charles, Illinois. It's real. Stephanie Miller fans are everywhere. We're meeting in parking lots. It happened just yesterday. I got to my car after leaving the grocery store. There was a woman loading her groceries in the car. She had a radio on to WCPT 820 Progressive Radio. I couldn't resist. They said, I think we would qualify to say that we listen to the Stephanie Miller Show. We both laughed and said, yes, we would. I love it.
Stephanie Miller, weekday mornings, 8 to 11 on WCPT 820.
This is WCPT telling you how you can shop blue. Did you know that there are only 49 states in America that require you to have car insurance? At Chicago's Progressive Talk, we're in Illinois, and Illinois is one of the 49 states that require you to have car insurance. Let's look at some car insurance companies that support the Democratic Party. American Family Insurance. American Family Insurance was once very conservative, but since 2019, they have moved to the left, donating $214,000 to Democrats. In 2024, AAA. AAA was also once very conservative, but in 2014, they shifted to the left, donating $235,000 to Democrats in 2024. 83% of their donations went to Democrats. Liberty Mutual. Now, Liberty Mutual leans to the left, and yes, they did donate $1.6 million to Democrats in 2024. That was only 64% of their donations. Progressive Insurance. Progressive does not give to politics, but some of their senior leaders do, and their senior leaders lean left. This has been WCPT telling you how you can shop blue.
You're listening to WCPT 820, because facts matter.
Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive on WCPT 820.
Hey, man, welcome back. It's Richard Chu talking to Hal Sparks, Mega Worldwide. Yes. Hey, listen, some quick shout-outs to you. Our good friend Kurt Herner from Akron, Ohio, says we've got him laughing pretty hard. And also Natalie Ziemba, who is, as you know,
Nat.
Yeah, Nat,
we love her.
Nat says hi, and she looks forward to seeing you later this month. So just a couple of quick shout-outs from people who have listened and love what we do. So yeah, listen, this whole situation. Let me talk about Greenland for a second, but I'm going to set that aside because I want to come back. A woman called right before you came on, and her name, drawing a blank on her name right now, but she asked a question. She said, "Okay, guys, how are we going to navigate this situation with the midterms?" Her question, her concern is that that we aren't going to have midterms, and what do we do leading up to that? And she also said that she also asked the question, how do we as hosts of shows articulate what we need to be doing to make sure that we do have midterms? So I have my thoughts on that, but Hal, I want to hear from you and what you have to say in that space.
There's a couple of things. One is we are going to have midterms, and the key focus that we're going to have, and I think which will give us an edge, is the push for voter ID on the right has been very strong for a very long time. But there's also this weird backlash amongst the right about real ID and the sort of paranoid prepper crowd that makes up about 8 to 12% of the Republican electorate who are not going to have proper ID come election time, whether to register or whether they need it in a bunch of states. So they are already at a disadvantage in their numeric numbers of voters, and they have created this little corral that they're stuck in. So that's on our side. the idea that they're going to – I understand the fear that he will somehow stop the midterms. We went through this in his first term, and certainly he seems kind of off the rails going forward. The problem is that if you do that, there are a bunch of Republicans that they are trying to swap out, either making red districts redder or get more MAGA-friendly people in. Those people won't get elected either.
That's right.
And there are a bunch of states, blue states especially, that will have their elections, that they will go through with them even if the federal government says no. And when it comes to the numbers, those are the states that are going to have Democratic additions to the House, period.
Yeah,
and so it will fail. Yeah.
Well, no, but that's the point that she and I ran out of time. Her name was Connie. I ran out of time. I was able to get to that point. The states run the elections, and so the states will have their elections, and that tally will be there. And in an odd sort of way, if he were to try to position something in the bucket of fraud, that we can't have elections because of fraud, and we found all that whole conversation. States will still have their elections because the states run them. They're not governed by the federal government, and the Federal Election Commission doesn't have any real weight in state-held elections, even for federal offices. So we could have these wins or these results. Maybe that's a better word. We'll have these results. And in red states where they end up losing because voter turnout is what it is, then how is the Republican Party going to deal with that? Because
they will,
So it's nuanced.
You're absolutely right, and it will. You got to look at areas where ego and the kind of power structure of both parties and members of both parties over the years still exist. The one thing about canceling elections is it's a little bit like when they were putting holds on generals' promotions, that you stop that process for a time and allow other people to dig in. And if you're running for office and you sided with shutting down the elections, that will affect whether or not the independents and the local voters will actually side with you, in the future once we do have elections again. The other aspect, and because Thune wants to be president, there are, obviously Ted Cruz is going to run again, with about as much chance as, a Santorum in a punch bowl. But there are other people who know that Trump is not long for this world, and somebody's got to be electable across, nationwide. And if he saddles his party with "we shut down the elections," that makes it harder for them. The other thing, too, is that, quite frankly, there's no legit reason. This is why the Greenland argument died. It's because, he flattened the tires on that ridiculousness today because there is no legal impetus for doing it. You could say, if you wanted to temporarily suspend Election Day or punt it in Minnesota if it was completely on fire and you had to send in the National Guard or whatever. But we would have had elections during Katrina, really. We just found a way around it. Mm-hmm. Shutting them down there's no legal reason to do it, in that maybe you go to Venezuela because you've redefined narcotics traffickers as terrorists, right? You use the AUMF to do that. There is no similar legal structure outside of Congress declaring war on Denmark that would allow for this to happen. And that's why he said, I'm not going to take it by force, because he knows he can't. And the same thing is true nationwide. The states run the election. There is no way we get nationwide martial law
because
short of a nuclear attack. It's silly.
Well, that part right there is where so many more of us, I believe, need to be, and it was also kind of what Connie was asking for, is a better explanation. This is not the time for Democrats to be cutting each other's wrist when it comes to who said this, when, and how. We have to be supportive of each other. We've got to get behind, and it doesn't have to be a singular message other than we got to get this fool out of. We not only have to get him out of office, we have to, in terms of the midterms, we also have to put the brakes on the craziness that he and his entire administration are causing. So that, to me, is the message. It doesn't, honestly, I don't think the message needs to get into, we're going to fix the economy, we're going to get jobs back, we're going to bring back manufacturing, this sort of stale. The message from the Democrats on all levels needs to be, doggone it, we're going to get this craziness out of your hair. And what they are doing to you, they caused this. Electing us, we're going to fix it and take this pressure off of you. And I know that's kind of bland and opaque, but it needs to be that simple and bite-sized rather than all the nuanced other things, because before we can fix any of that, we got to get, as the old phrase goes, we got to get the bums out.
Well, the irony, too, is that Republicans used to run on all the time about how government, I've always said the motto of the GOP is government can't do anything right, elect me and I'll prove it. And a lot of these guys, they've been running on this idea overall that government's in our lives too much. We need to get government out of our lives, right? That was the thing. So we can just freely be ourselves and do our thing and not have to, deal with it all the time. Government has never been more in our lives than it is under Donald Trump. It has never eaten up so much bandwidth and been so much crisis management. And the idea that the American people, knowing that our system functions well on its own when it's allowed to, should have to white-knuckle their government every day and wake up going, what is this idiot going to do today? You shouldn't have to worry about that. And there was a huge sales pitch, and this part of why Biden won was this sort of idea of make politics boring again. Mm-hmm. That we've got a job to do. You listen to your constituents. You do as much as you can, to benefit Americans and stuff. But it's not supposed to eat up every news cycle. No. And it's a bad sign if it does. That's the other thing. If you're hearing about the government, if your president is having to come out every day and explain everything to you, that means things aren't working.
That's right. We should be able to look up and go, oh, yeah, my 401k is doing okay. Oh, yeah, my pension's doing all right. My insurance rates didn't double or triple or quadruple. My car insurance.
Planes aren't falling out of the sky.
Yeah, and groceries are reasonable in terms of their moderate. That should be the decorum of the day, if we want to use that word, Hal Sparks.
I do.
Man.
I like using that word because you should have some. I also don't need, a president that flips off union workers because they point out something that is patently obvious, and that's that he was yelling at Lauren Boebert, if you release the Epstein files, you're going to hurt my friend.
Yeah. When I saw that, I didn't even listen. I'm going to pull the word decorum back for a second. I actually said that next morning on my show, I said, listen, I don't expect any decorum from him because MAGA doesn't want decorum. So to say that it wasn't a statesman's thing to do or presidential, no, that's not even in the conversation because MAGA they don't care about that in the first place. Because if they did, they wouldn't have voted for him. So from my eyes, it's like, it's just a disgusting thing to do to another human being because you're so damn thin-skinned that you can't handle somebody going after you like that. And this is where I said, Hal, that Donald Trump is exactly what Christy Teigen referred to him as. That's now in the congressional record that you and I can't say on live radio. You know what I'm talking about. PAB.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yes, and that's and again, that you're absolutely right that MAGA wants this kind of rude and tell it like it is. And this comes out of the whole fighter conversation that you hear all the time. That's their version of being a fighter, is putting people in their place, being, dismissive of any of your enemies or whatever, as opposed to listening to an opponent to see if they've got a point so you don't lose all the time, which is where Trump is. And it's singularly why he tacos. It's why Trump always chickens out, is because he doesn't factor these things in. He is shooting from the hip most of the time, and he isn't very bright. And it's getting worse. I don't know if you've had a chance to see, on my show, I've had Adam Allen on my show, Doc Adam, I call him.
Yep.
And he's a geriatric doctor. He deals with people in advanced stages of dementia. And he started posting because he kept seeing in Trump stuff that he sees in his most advanced patients. And his belief system, and I think he's on the money about this, is Trump's got about 2 to 5 months either as president of the United States or before he shuffles off this mortal coil because of myriad of factors, not the least of which he clearly has early signs of dementia. His father passed away of it at about the same time.
Yep.
He's getting to be that age. He always talks about genes. Well, his genes point very distinctly in this direction. And if you don't want those genes to express, there's a lot you can do, but you got to do it early and you got to do it often. You got to live clean and protect every brain cell you have. And all he does is eat fish sandwiches and drink Diet Coke and blaze rails of Adderall all day long. And that runway is really short.
It's a short runway.
That's right.
Self-imposed Thelma and Louise moment. Hal Sparks, y'all. Man, thanks for hanging out with me this afternoon. Always great to hear your voice. We got to get back together again on your show. So you set something up for a couple of Saturdays out, and we'll do it, okay?
I love it. I'm going to be in town, obviously, for the Indivisible fundraiser on the 31st at Dino's in Elk Grove. And so hopefully I'll see you that weekend. Maybe you could step into the studio with us. I'm going to be in town. I'm going to do my show at CPT. And Johnny will be there with me. So on
Saturday the 31st.
The 31st.
Okay,
yep.
let's talk offline about how to make that happen.
Love it.
All right, man.
I would love to have that happen. Any day with a little more Richard Chew in it is always good. I'm just saying that's my personal opinion, and I stick to it. So.
I love you for that, Hal. Be safe, brother. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Lady B, let's go to a break, dear. 773-763-9278. I'm Richard Chew, sitting in for Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive here on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, and all the other streaming stuff. Y'all know how to find us. We'll be right back.
WCPT Replay.
The professor of political science and women's and gender studies at Brooklyn College and the graduate center of the City University of New York and author of Sex Is As Sex Does, Governing Transgender Identity. Yeah, Paisley Curra.
The legislation that they've passed doesn't really speak to any particular problems. Like the legislation that they've passed might be described as like a solution in search of a problem. The legislation covers, school and college participation in sports. And when it comes to like elite sports, that's already governed by the whatever sports associations. They have their own policies and they're working through policies on transgender participation. So it's not necessary for legislatures to weigh in on that. This legislation is really targeting like middle school and high school kids at the non-elite level, and that is where it really just part of enrolling transgender people in the culture wars to create problems where none exist.
Keep listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Margaret is a 71-year-old widow who came to Brookfield Tax Planning because she was worried her accountant and financial advisor weren't doing enough to reduce her taxes. During their free, no-obligation tax reduction review, it was revealed that Margaret had been overpaying $7,250 each year since her husband passed. $102,000 lost forever due to a lack of proactive tax planning. Her accountant does returns after the year is over when it's too late. Her advisor handles her investments but doesn't reduce her taxes. Once the year ends, tax reduction options shrink to almost nothing. Retirees and business owners should plan ahead now using legal proactive strategies to slash taxes. Stop overpaying. 94% of Brookfield's new clients are shocked that they've been paying too much every year. Call Brookfield Tax Planning at 708-485-3439 or visit BrookfieldTaxPlanning.com for your free review. You have nothing to lose. That's BrookfieldTaxPlanning.com.
I'm Jessica Ettinger. CNBC, a winning day on Wall Street. The Dow rallied, not quite making up what it lost yesterday, but stocks finished higher on what President Trump is calling the concept of a deal over Greenland and more with NATO. This announced at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. The Dow up 588 points. A little more than 1%. Shares of Amgen led it higher. They were up almost 4%. The S&P 500 index up 78 points. That was 1%. The NASDAQ up 270 points. That was 1%. Shares of NVIDIA were up almost 3% today. For investors, they're calling it not just uncertainty, but instability. Natural gas prices are soaring, up 20% today. Heating oil prices at their highest since Thanksgiving, as an Arctic cold blast aims for the U.S. Jessica Ettinger, CNBC.
Hear the CNBC business updates each weekday at 9:30, 12:30, and 4:30. Now, your WCPT 820 Chicago weather update.
I'm meteorologist Ray Miller from the Weatherology Weather Center. An extreme cold watch goes into effect Thursday night. Tonight, a little bit of blowing snow possible with a low temperature of 14 degrees. West winds up to 45 miles an hour. On Thursday, a chance of light snow showers with a high temperature of 25 degrees. West winds up to 35 miles an hour, so blowing snow possible once again. Thursday night, partly cloudy, 6 below zero. Wind chills as cold as 30 below. That's the latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 29.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter.
Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive. Every weekday afternoon from 2 to 5 p.m. on WCPT 820.
Hey, guys, welcome back to Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive. I'm Richard Chu, host of Chu's Views, Monday through Friday, 6 to 8 a.m. here on WCPT AM 820. And I am Joan's body double today, hanging out to make sure that we bring you guys all the facts that matter. Hal Sparks, man, always fun to hang out with Hal, just a joy. And we've been blessed today to have such a wonderful lineup of people that have been with us, starting off the show today with Rachel Bitecofer, Aurora, Illinois Mayor John Laesch, Aaron Kleinman, who is the head of research here at WCPT. I'm sorry, at the Heartland Signal. So we've been just, so thrilled to have the folks with us. And continuing on this train down the street is another really smart dude that's been on my show, Choose Views. We talk about policy when we talk to so many of our guests about what we need to have in place. And it's always great to have someone that actually does it for a living in a major way. And I'm speaking of the Senior Director of Federal Budget Policy at the Center for American Progress, none other than Bobby Kogan. Good afternoon, Robert. How are you?
Hey, Richard. Thank you so much for having me back on. How you been?
I've been good, man. Listen, I want to punch a bully in his face right now. And so, the FBI,
don't we all?
the FBI can roll out all they want to. I didn't say who the bully was, but I want to punch a bully in the face right now because I'm tired of. I'm tired of people feeling the stress. I'm tired of folks who I don't even know, but I love because they're good folk having to feel this stress. And it has nothing to do with what you're a specialist in is policy. None of this is policy. This is all just rogue behavior. Going after Greenland, that's rogue behavior. Sending troops to Minneapolis, that's rogue behavior. There's no policy there. There's nothing that you can build on and have it be right for the majority of Americans. And that's, I'm good, but I want to punch a bully square right in the teeth, knock some teeth out. So there you go. There's my answer.
I think that's the right response. It's really tough to see a country you care about descend into needless cruelty, needless suppression of those who can't stick up for themselves. We see, speaking of Minneapolis, right? ICE has 2,000 agents on the ground there, and there are about 600 law enforcement officers in Minneapolis, right? So that means ICE is outnumbering the law enforcement officers there 3 to 1. And that's ICE right now at its current capacity. And over the next few years, we should see a doubling, tripling, maybe quadrupling of ICE agents if they can find people to hire. And I think we're not really prepared for what's going to come. I think we are all witnessing what Donald Trump right now has maybe increased ICE funding at about 50% relative to when he took office. So we're seeing a 50% increase and a strong will to use ICE indiscriminately can do. And I don't think anyone's prepared for what quadrupling of ICE agents will look like.
No.
Times are ahead.
Listen, I said the one thing that I'm not going to do this year, as much as I'll take this very partisan moment, as much as I know that the Democratic Party's got to do some things better and differently. We get that. Any human being that's trying to improve is going to look at what they've done, how to figure out what's good, what's not good, and then make some changes. We get that. The Democratic Party definitely has to do that, and that's a good thing. But the one thing I'm not going to do in 2026 is trash the Democratic Party. to score points or to sound, like I'm with it, because what we need to do is trash the GOP, because their lack of strength to push back on Donald Trump and his regime is why we have these problems right now, and why ICE, because the GOP is the one that voted for this big ugly bill to give him the monetary means to have ICE there and be a recruiting tool in the first place. So we have to be focused.
Yeah, that's precisely right.
And I'll shut up and let you take the baton. But we have to be laser focused on getting ready, because it's only going to get worse. That's the point I wanted to make, Bobby. I said this right out of the gate at the beginning of the year. It is going to get worse. I don't want to sound like a doomsday dude. I'm not. We have to be prepared for it. And I think that, without that preparation and continually sounding the alarm, then we're kind of fooling ourselves. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's precisely right. I mean, the answer is there's only so much you can do when you don't hold any of the levers of government, right? Democrats are in the minority in the Senate. Democrats are in the minority in the House. Democrats don't control the White House, and Democrats are in the minority in the Supreme Court and in courts, across the U.S. And that just means that there's a limited amount. There's some they can do, and I think Democrats are doing some, and I think Democrats should be doing more. But the answer is there's only so much that you can do. Elections have consequences, and we are living with the consequences. And people who have a lot less power than either of us are living with the consequences and having their lives completely ruined through no fault of their own. And we have to, we have to be very clear-eyed about what we can accomplish. A lot of the change we won't be able to accomplish, and some change we will be able to accomplish. It's important to get the victories where we can get the victories. It's also important to understand and pace ourselves and set ourselves up for where we can succeed in the future. And to the point about ICE, right? Like, there is annual ICE funding, but in the big, beautiful bill, there's a $30 billion slush fund where even if the government were shut down for the next 4 years straight, or, 3 years straight, even if the government were shut down for the next 3 years straight, ICE would still be able to operate at double capacity for all 3 years. Right? Yeah. That's something that we just have to contend with. There's nothing to be done there. The only way to stop that would be to get a veto-proof majority in each chamber, which is just not possible, right? That is actually the only way to stop that. Otherwise, that is simply going to happen because Donald Trump is president and that pot of money exists. So we have to be very clear-eyed about what's ahead of us and where we can win and where we can fight, and we have to be fighting everywhere we can be fighting. But there are just a lot of rough times ahead.
Yeah, there are, and I'm glad you broke that down that way, because when we look at it from a budget standpoint, or budget or money standpoint, I'm going to put those in two separate columns. We look at it from a money standpoint. Yeah, they've got unlimited funds, and what I think is one of the things that has to happen, Bobby, is that the people who honestly in their mind, I'm going to say honestly in their mind, did say they did not vote for this, or that they thought it was going to be something different, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I know you've heard all the different variations of that. Those folks, if that's true, if they're being honest now and no BS, then they've got to be willing to step up and say, we're going to vote with the Democrats. And I'm talking about regular everyday voters, not folks in Congress. We're going to vote with the Democrats so that we can turn the tide a little bit in terms of the midterms, because that then does give us some power to be able to kind of throw some monkey wrenches in further damage that Trump will be able to do. But because of that slush fund as it relates to ICE, a lot of that die has already been cast. So we've got to wake up that 89 million that didn't participate for whatever reason. And in the process, and I hate to hope for anything politically, people that see that this is not what I really thought I was voting for, or what I want, are going to come to that awakening and say, listen, here's what we got to do. We got to join with the Democrats and get this fool out, because I'm hurting because of the vote that I made before. Call me crazy, but those are the things that I believe have to happen. Let's talk a little bit about some budget policy items that you see the Democrats having an opportunity to take on if the Democrats win back the House in November.
Sure. So right now we're in the middle of a funding fight. We fight about 2/3 funding of the United States government is roughly on autopilot, and every year we fight about roughly 1/3 of it. But that 1/3, we're in the midst of a fight right now, and it's split across 12 different kind of subcomponents, 12 different bills. And we're working, we've already done 6 of those 12, and we're working on the remaining 6. And inside of that, you can see areas where I think Democrats have actually secured pretty meaningful victories. Now, I want to be totally clear. There are lots of bad things in those bills. We would expect that, given that Donald Trump is president and Republicans control both the House and the Senate. But there's some really good things in there, right? So when I say really good things, I mean relative to last year, there's another $7 billion for low-income housing, $3 billion for homeless assistance grants, and $4 billion for Section 8, right? That's a meaningful difference in the lived experience of people, whether you are no longer going to be unhoused or you're going to be able to, you're going to be able to get on Section 8 because there's such a backlog and you weren't before, and that's going to be a difference of maybe $1,000, more for you in your pocket for feeding your family every single month. So that's a real thing, right? More money for education as well, for helping out poor school districts. More money for NIH, and huge kind of rebukes of the ways in which Donald Trump had been trying to first trying to directly illegally defund NIH, and then kind of sneakily forward fund a bunch of it, and the method is complicated, but effectively cut the amount of research done by like 80%. So there are huge rebukes inside of that. Those are enormous victories that we have right here from the minority. I want to be clear. They're paired with lots and lots and lots of losses and really tough things inside those bills that should make all of us feel uncomfortable. But it also shows us what's ahead of us, like what is to be done, right? The way to do better appropriations is to win more power. What we saw in the Biden administration was great funding for a lot of the things that we wanted. We think a lot of money into low-income housing. We think a lot of money into education. We think a lot of money into nutrition. We think a lot of money into clean water. We think a lot of things into what matters to the American people. And so inside this pot of money that we fight about every single year, there is education funding. Now, obviously, most education funding happens at the state and local level, but this is how we do a lot of our funding for kids with disabilities. This is how we do a lot of funding for school districts that really, really, really struggle to have enough teachers and have adequate kind of books and everything like that. This is also how we make sure we do all of our low-income housing. It's how we do a significant amount of our nutrition. And so it's a lot of the stuff that, like, we think we kind of take for granted in a civilized society, but without which you get to really see all the cracks, all the insufficiencies. So this is the sort of stuff that's really important. It's not sexy, but it's what we have to fight for every day, because otherwise people struggle. Otherwise people go hungry. Otherwise people are, go unhoused. Otherwise people don't get an education they deserve, and they can be trapped in poverty, right? So it's all the stuff that we have to do to I don't think we're going to succeed in making life fair, but we are going to try to push really hard to make life less unfair.
And take some of the heat off of the people. And listen, there are folks that are seven-figure household incomes, and I've seen this as a financial advisor, in my life, that struggle because of there's some systemic things that they've got to change and blah blah blah, but the cost of stuff that they spend their money on is proportionately just as too high for them as somebody that's making $75,000 a year. So someone that's making $150,000, or that's their household income. Just like someone that's at 75 household income, are having the same struggle, but just at a different level in terms of the price point for the things that they buy. So that, to me, says a couple things. One, the income disparity of companies and the growth and the incomes of those companies as it relates to what they pay people. And secondarily, the income disparity of the top percentages of earners to the rest of the country is way out of alignment. And I don't know what the fixes are going to be. It's not just going to be an increase in the minimum wage and compensation. It also has to be a reduction in the cost of things that we spend money on every single day.
Yeah, that's right. So, and for goods, we've made a lot of progress, right, in the price of goods getting cheaper. But for services, for labor-intensive things, if you are in the bottom 90%, there's a really good chance that you're going to struggle on labor-intensive things, right? You're going to struggle on childcare. You're going to struggle in education. You're going to struggle on health, big healthcare expenses. You're going to struggle if you're in the bottom 90%. You're in the top 5%, you're probably in pretty good shape. Definitely in the top 2%. But the truth is that the labor-intensive things, if you're quite poor, you're just entirely priced out of it. And if you are in the middle class or the upper middle class, you're going to struggle a lot because these things are just expensive. And they're expensive because we're a rich nation. And that's great, right? Like in really poor nations or in developing nations, you can be upper middle class and afford, you can afford servants because the cost of quote unquote cheap labor is so cheap.
Right.
But that's just not true here, right? Like you can be in the upper middle class in some of the developing nations and afford like a whole bevy of people to kind of cater to you, and that's just not true in the United States of America. And so when you have things like childcare, where there's just there's nothing to do here for childcare, it just means that a whole bunch of people can't afford, and that necessitates government intervention, right? That's the only thing that can be done here.
That's the part that a lot of people don't want to have a real conversation about. It does necessitate government intervention on a federal level, on a state, and on a local level. And that's where good leadership understands that. But then you've got the bad messaging not bad messaging. I don't want to say that because that sounds like I'm pointing the finger at the Democrats. I'm not trying to do that. I'm saying that when the messaging doesn't reach people the right way and the right people need to hear it, then you hear things like government doesn't work. But in fact, government can be a positive sledgehammer to break up the log jam of things that don't get done for everyday people. And I think that's kind of where we are right now in many measures. Bobby, I want to ask you one other question before we get out of here. I know that you and I we learned early on in our first couple of conversations that you and I can talk for a long time. But I guess that's a good thing. Let me ask you this. Is there really, do you think that there's any real substance, I guess is the word I'll use, to Republicans pushing back on Trump right now when it comes to some policy issues, particularly when it comes to some of the cuts that have already hit the table and others that are on the horizon?
I think there are for limited things. And I think, but it's done in a not helpful and usually ad hoc way. So the reason I'll say this is when Russ Vought began his tenure at OMB the second time around, he was obviously there the first time, but when he began his tenure this time around, they went about looking to impound everything that they could get their hands on, right? They were looking to do, as of July of last year, as of 3/4 of the way through the fiscal year, they had only used half of the NIH money. They were on track to have impounded $25 billion of NIH money. And that's a popular program with enormous bipartisan support. They went after the Department of Education, and they went after things left and right. And at the end of the day, they got cold feet on not all, but most of the areas that they were going to impound. And the reason they got cold feet was not Democrats pushing, but was Republicans saying, this is in my district or my people care about this. Mm-hmm. So they actually got a lot of pushback from Senate and House Republicans saying, release this money. And they did on an ad hoc basis. But then when Democrats went to Republicans and said, okay, time to put in language that prevents the Trump administration from doing this, instead of doing ad hoc letters and pleas behind the deal and, behind the scenes and everything, yeah. Republicans said absolutely not. So they were completely unwilling to kind of force the Trump administration to stop doing stuff. What they would do instead was plead and beg and maybe trade favors. So I would say there is some, and the hope behind why they're doing appropriations in this way, I don't know if it'll work, but the whole concept behind this is before then we were working on roughly priorities that had been set in the Biden administration. Because There were 2024 approaches that were then done in a CR and then a continued CR. And so the concept here is if Republicans negotiated the levels and the priorities and the specific everything, then they would feel ownership over it. And if the Trump administration, didn't follow through, they'd say, hold on, this was my level and I picked this. I don't know if that's going to happen, but that was the thinking behind it. And as I said, we saw some of it. It just is insufficient, right? This is one key area where a lot of pushback behind the scenes got the Trump administration to pause on a good chunk of what they were doing, but there was no appetite to actually forcefully prevent them and bar them from doing their nefarious actions. So it's a pretty tough place, and it's the sort of thing where with more Democrats in office, or at least more people or different politicians in office at least willing to stand up to Trump, that you could see a lot of progress being made.
Yeah, they clearly they did not want to go to the deep end of the pool to take the real risk of saying to Trump, listen, this is truly hurting my constituents in many, many ways. And, we're going to put the brakes on you. They haven't done that part yet. And so that's
not at all. And in fact, it was a non-starter for them, right? Like it was one of the major asks in this appropriations battle from House and Senate Dems, and it was a complete non-starter. And I cannot tell you how many meetings I was in where this was the subject, and every single time, I'd hear like, oh, well, we made the ask, and this was like shot down immediately.
Wow. The Center for American Progress is a wonderful organization. And when you've got senior director level talent like Bobby Kogan as part of the organization, it just gets better. Thank you for hanging out with us today, Bobby. It's good to hear your voice. I'm glad you're well. Stay in the fight, man, and we'll have you back on the show sometime soon. Does that sound good?
That sounds great. Thank you so much for having me back, Richard. It is always a pleasure.
Fantastic, man. Be well, stay safe, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. All right. Well, I don't know what to say other than, I'm glad we had this time together. And as Joan's body double, that's been me. My name is Richard Chu, of course. I've been sitting in for Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive. Next up is that lady driving you home in her hoopty, also known as Patty Vasquez. Patty will be with you shortly, so stay tuned. Thanks for hanging with me today. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. on Choose Views. Take care. Talk to you soon.